welcome to episode 95 of Flix and a Six. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Costanzo. With me, if forever and always, the man, the myth, the true, Alessandro Bielsi. Say hello, Al.
This is a violation of the Ruddy, Bloody Anti-Incarceration Act, and I will not be subjected to criminal abuse.
Okay, on this week's episode, we're gonna keep it light on the news and nuggets so we could dive into our flick of the week. Because, boy oh boy,
if you didn't get it from that line,
is it a long time coming?
The longest time coming. We've
our
been
flick
teasing
of the
it for
week,
months.
Which, for those of you listening, has been discussed since the very day one. Is it a day one discussion?
I'm not that we were specifically going to come up and do it, but yes, it's been probably since the first first episode. It must have been mentioned.
It's the long-awaited Cloud Atlas.
It's perfect that we get to do this together. In case you guys can't tell from listening to us, we are in the same room.
We're here.
We're enjoying one of our favorite movies while drinking one of our favorite breweries. Couldn't be more perfect.
Now let's talk about that, shall we? What are we drinking?
We're drinking two very different looking glasses.
And therein lies the question. So Al poured these two beers, and one is very different looking than the other. But they
you want to snap a picture of that? We can
Let's do that. Let's do that.
On the line?
I'll put it out there on the line.
Yeah, so here's what happened is when I was pouring yours...
Oh, good. Your naked upper half is also in the picture.
Fantastic, as well it should be. When I was pouring yours, it looked much like this one here. And then I got to the end, and apparently there was a considerable amount of sediment. And it just went... And I was like, oh, shit, I had no idea. I was like, I'll do better next time. You can have this one if you prefer.
I mean, I don't care.
Let's admire the one that as nature intended.
Okay, that's what
beautiful.
It should look like?
It's straw colored.
Right.
It's very pale. It had a nice little head in the pour, but it's already kind of died off. It's 6.5% alcohol by volume.
Mine looks more like the beers I like.
Well, yours looks more like either like the hazy IPA or like a wheat German type beer.
Yeah.
As opposed to what this is, which is an India cream ale. This beer was born here. I drive past this twice a day going to house sit for Dominic, who's house sitting for his boss. Oh, actually, if we want to really play games with transitive properties, my mom is house sitting for me, who's house sitting for Dominic, who's house sitting for his boss, his cats.
That's a hard one to follow.
Yes. 1 plus 2 plus 1 plus 1, not 1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 1.
Plus 2 plus 1.
So, were you able to detect the subtle notes of hoppage when I opened the cans? Did you see? I was like, oh yes, that smell. It was right before we started going.
It's probably because I've been semi-sick for over...
That was why I asked. I was maybe hoping that you'd be able to... Yeah. Well, you could even tell, I opened them and they were both sitting there and they effervesced all the way over here.
It's fragrant.
So, it's a cream ale that meets an IPA. Deliciousness ensues.
Nice.
You
gotta love their cans.
Proudly brewed and canned by Newburgh Brewing Company. They had to pick the better font to go on that.
Oh yeah, that's not right.
This was a limited release. Actually, I think I might have had a couple of these at your wedding rehearsal dinner.
I think I might have grabbed some of these when I was on the way back from the bachelor party.
No, I was going to say, I think you had me buy a big batch of them. I think this was one of the things that was in that big batch that had 5 or 6 different type of beers. Let's cheers and sip, and then let's get into it. Yeah, it is as good as I remember.
That's nice.
It sure is.
That's nice. Now, I am very curious. I want to taste yours.
Just compare and contrast. Go ahead.
Let's sit here.
We're just going to exchange?
Yeah.
It tastes about the same.
It does. It is...
Yours tastes cloudier.
It is... Mine does taste cloudier. I think I like it better.
Perfect. Cloud Atlas.
You can keep yours.
Okay.
This one's mine. This is the true.
Okay. Fuck! I realized that I didn't transpose this from my notes last week, which was technically...
So we have a major thing to discuss.
One major one. It's my review of Neon Genesis Evangelion, which, first of all,
jeez,
let's just get out ahead of this. The Neon and Genesis, we're not going to use those anymore. They're not really important. I don't really know where they come from in the title.
The of?
No, Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Oh,
one word.
I thought you said of Angelia.
It's Evangelion.
This is gonna be good.
Rare form.
We're gonna be fine.
Rare form. 6 minutes in. Are we gonna be fun? That word has real meaning in the show. They use it quite often. It's fairly important. The neon and the Genesis, couldn't tell you where those come from. I guess some things are kind of neon colored. You could make...
Okay.
What I will say is, I'm much like I did with the leftovers last week, which is super weird for me to say because it was literally 24 hours ago that we were talking about it.
What is time?
We're pre-recording this because we had occasion to be together.
Here. Cheers.
Cheers. So, the Genesis thing actually does matter. I don't want to get into anything too spoiler, but one of the things I'll say is that there is a substantial amount of co-opting of some of the iconography of Christianity. Not in like a bastardization of things that actually are part of like the Bible and stuff like that, but rather using terminology and putting it, like grafting it onto what's going on, is what I'll say. Because like one of the main things, the villains that they're facing, are called angels. Oh. They're these otherworldly creatures that they can't quite explain, that are over powerful and over much smarter than them. So, like
creatures of the night,
and they come they come from above, from outer space. Okay. So it kind of fits in the whole thing. So there's a lot of stuff like that. There's I don't want to get into spoilers with that sort of thing, but there's a lot of that sort of stuff. So let me get.
How many episodes is this thing?
So that let's do that right off the beginning. There's 26 episodes.
Healthy.
It was one season.
It's a healthy dose.
26 episodes.
Is there going to be more?
No. Well.
Okay. Oh.
First of all, this aired.
Ooh, tripped him up right away.
This aired in 1995, 1996.
Okay.
There have been other things made in the world of it, but not necessarily as direct sequels. Some things were prequel type thing. There was like video game stuff. There was manga, like drawn, like as like to build out like the world. And the main story itself is really self-contained. It was
like legit popular.
Yes.
At its time.
Oh, it is like critically acclaimed. It had a rabid fan base. Okay. And why I immediately...
Rabid fan base is a good thing to call it.
One of the reasons I paused when you asked how many episodes this is because the show ended, and there were some people who were displeased with the ending.
So it's show a show.
Well, it's complicated, and I'll get into a little bit of it in a bit. But what happened was, I think there was issues. There was issues with funding later in the run of the season, so they had to dramatically alter how they chose to deliver the last 2 episodes of the show, which meant they had to pull some stock stuff and redo it, and they had to change the art style a lot. They turned it into some, again, without getting into spoilers, I can't say what it is, but like the things that they did made sense to convey what it is that they were trying to convey. Okay. And in addition, it was a very personal product, a very personal project for the guy. It's Hideaki Anno, I think was his name.
Who played some music for us.
I think an ad popped up on one of my other tabs.
Don't you love that?
No.
Yeah, I'm gonna quick side. So there's every time I've been doing a lot of work lately within Chrome, and I use Firefox normally for some of my development, but I need to use Chrome for this particular thing. And what I need to do is I need to load up a YouTube page, and then I need to use an extension so that I can pull it. It's not that important. What you need to know is that most of the day, there's a Chrome window open somewhere on my computer with a video in it. Okay. It's usually not being played. It's just there for when I'm testing it. And every time someone calls me or some sound kicks in or I get a text message, for whatever reason, Chrome thinks it's its cue to play. And it just starts playing. Nice. So the phone will ring, and then I'll raise the volume for the phone call, and then the video will just be there. Yeah.
Put me in, coach, put me in!
Exactly. It's like the most eager video. And it's been actually driving me crazy. And you know what's also crazy? This is derailing you is what I do. So what it's
I thought that's what I do to you.
It's a mutual thing.
It is.
What's also crazy is the way that I have things set up. I can answer my phone or text on any of my Apple devices, right? Mm-hmm. God forbid someone calls me
They all ring.
Everything in the house. No, see, that's the problem. Not at the same time. It's ring, 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 and then also it's just like a constant same noise because they're just off by so much, and I guess I have just enough devices.
The phone,
to fill...
the computer, the iPad, the toaster oven.
And
they all ring at the same time.
It's like row your boat. Like,
nice.
It's horrible. And then when I answer the phone, the other ones don't stop right away, and they're just blaring from other parts of the house.
Wait, they don't when you answer it?
Not right away.
Oh.
They're on the same delay, I guess, as the ring.
Speaking of derailments, you didn't give me how many thumbs this beer gets.
Oh, this one is a thumb.
Just one?
A single thumb.
Just the one thumb, actually. Okay, back. I know you enjoy what's his name work just as much as I do. What the hell's his name? The guy who does the Simon Pegg's 3 Cornetto stuff. Edgar Wright. That's his name. I knew I was going to get there eventually. Back onto this show. So at the end of At the end of the run of the show, they. Oh, sorry. Getting back to what it was a personal project for. I think it's Hideaki Anno is his name.
Okay.
You can see as the story goes how personal it must have been because of what it's dealing with. Mm-hmm. Did you get attacked by Wolverine?
I was attacked by some sort of creature.
Namely your pen?
No, I don't know what that is.
Stylus, whatever that is.
I don't know what's going on there. Anyway, sorry, guys. So, I've got 3 claw marks on my arm.
This, like I alluded to last week, Existential Dread.
That's like it's like a prequel that's made 20 years ago today.
Yeah. Existential Dread. And the sense of self and where we fit in the circles of our life, right? Our immediate circle, bigger picture, literally in the why are we here type of situation, all that stuff. And you can see how much of it he poured himself into. And when I was looking into some of the backstory of this after I finished watching the show to understand exactly what happened at the ending, he said he was dealing with really aggressive depression in the wake of a breakup during the course of making this, and you can see that kind of
comes through.
And what he said, to see how serious it was, he said literally it got to the point where this is a Japanese man in Japan. They their culture is different the way they deal with these sorts of things. Like, you can't reach out for help. He said a friend reached out to me and gave me a book, and if he didn't give me this book on self-help, I don't know that I would be here now to give this interview. Like, that's how serious these sorts of things are. So
I gotta pause you again. Because the way that you described that, I started to smirk, and I don't want you to think I was being...
No, I know. You're thinking about Wedding Crashers.
I absolutely am.
Don't kill yourself, Bucks.
I thought the book wasn't for you. It's not for me. Don't worry about the book.
But I do actually want to kind of... I had to play around with these notes a lot to get them in the proper order. So it's going to be somewhat chronological. The last thing I'll leave off with is at the end of the 26th episode, when it ends, afterwards, there was such a hue and cry for a more robust ending. It's not that the ending itself was a problem. I actually mostly really liked it, and I'll get into that more in a couple of minutes. But because of their crunch of time and resources, they had to imply a lot of what happened. So they were able to make a movie that kind of was... It is technically an alter ending, but you can see how the two things kind of dovetail together. Thematically, they tread the same ground. It's in the explication of it that things change a little bit because they get into much bigger detail because it's like an hour and a half movie to finish it that was overriding the 40-ish minutes of those final 2 episodes.
Interesting. So in the experience that you can get it's on Netflix?
Yes, both of them are on there.
Interesting. And how is it set up that if it was for continuous play, what would happen? Would you watch the original and then the movie?
That's what I would say you should... Well, I don't know, because they're treated as 2 discrete elements.
Oh, okay.
Because the movie that's the end is... And it even says... It's even broken out. Episode 25. It's like restarting from that point, because...
Got it. That's really interesting.
So the main show is Neon Genesis Evangelion, and then the end of Evangelion is the name of the movie.
Okay.
So, and he and the main people, like everyone, was still involved with it. You okay?
Yeah. Sorry, we're sharing one mic, and I was gonna mute it, but that wouldn't have helped.
No. I guess it pause next time.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah. I would say after having watched it right into it to fill in the gaps, if you're planning on watching it, watch it episode 1 to 26, and then watch End of Evangelion. Okay. And it all will fit together better. So the first thing I'll say when I talk about what the show is about, we're talking about a kind of post-apocalyptic thing. Well, not quite apocalypse. Civilization still exists. It's just very different from what it was. Technically, it's taking place right around now. I think 2015 or 2016 it was supposed to be taking place in. Again, this show came out in 95.
Okay.
So it's basically 20 years after that. So
That's always fun, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's funny. The funniest thing is because there's so much that's futuristic, but there are so many other things that aren't, because they're still using wind-up tapes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But they also have and all the computer readouts. It's kind of like watching Archer, where they're in a modern setting, but using the old school computer readouts. Or John Wick actually is probably even a better one. But they have entire cities because they're the most of the show takes place in Tokyo 3. Tokyo 1 was destroyed in their first in a major clash with the Angels, and then Tokyo 2 came up, and then they made a Tokyo 3 that was part city, part military installation.
Tokyo 2 still exists?
I think so, yes. I think I'm remembering that correctly. But the whole city can be retracted into the earth. There's a huge cavern underneath it.
That's cool.
So I'm saying, some of the things and some of the weaponry they have is super advanced. But on the other hand, the Ava units, that's what they call them. They the units, the mech suits that they wear, they're huge, skyscraper sized. One person pilots it, each one. They are super strong, super advanced, but they only can operate at full capacity if they're literally plugged into a power source. So they're literally running around with a gigantic extension cords sticking out of them, and across the city they have different ports where if they have to disconnect from one, they can try and get to the next one, because they can only run for 5 minutes of power without the cord plugged in.
Okay.
And it literally just will stop moving in its place.
Now, how much is this explained or implied? The stuff that you just mentioned about the chords. And
no, that's very well. So that's a cool thing. We can do that now.
You understand why I'm asking, though, right?
No,
because
I do.
There are certain stories like this or things like this where just there's so much that is implied that you have to do your own research or understand where it's coming from. And it's not it doesn't feel like a complete story in that sense.
It's a really cool mix of things that they decide to explain to you in great detail, and other things that they let you discover on your own.
Okay.
Now I will say
half action.
Yes. There are times, and it's some of it is given organically over time. Some of it will be Basil exposition, whatever. Hey, here we're going to explain a big
Basil.
thing. With this sort of thing, you're going to have those things occasionally. Sure. It's just too much to give it totally organically.
That's fair.
It's a fairly deep mythos. Some things are left organically for you that are implied that you have to discover on your own as time goes on. And some of these things they leave intentionally ambiguous so that you have they don't necessarily want to give you the whole story. Draw your own conclusions. And some of it's just, hey, are you paying attention? We don't have time to explain this thing right now.
We'll jump to conclusions, man.
Yes. So you have these conclusions, and then you jump to them.
The guy made $1 million.
Terrible idea. I really liked it because the show doesn't ever hold your hand, even though they make sure that, hey, this is a thing that there's a lot to give you, and we're going to explain to you now. But then we're going to leave you alone, and you got to remember, we're not going to remind you about this later. This happened, we explained it. Playtime's over, kids.
Yeah, okay. I can get down with that.
It's interesting because it's I must admit my exposure to a lot of anime stuff was more of the kid version. It was Pokemon. It was even though I wasn't watching, it was stuff like Digimon or the Yu-Gi-Oh. Those things were all very kid centric. This is aiming at a more mature audience.
Okay.
When I say that, I mean more something like teenage or so, meaning 16, not
6,
11. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you.
But there are some times where it delves into the more childish stuff because 3 of the main characters are literally 14-year-olds. The pilots of the Avas are all 14 years old.
Oh.
No, they don't explain why exactly. Yes, you can draw your own conclusions over the course of the show as to why.
World's fucked up. Let's grow up quick.
Well, at the beginning, it's kind of because the whole thing is they kind of actually do a lot of the piloting with like their mental connection to these things, and they don't give a lot of explanation to that, and it becomes clearer more why as they go into there are whole episodes where they spend on making sure that each of them are connecting to their own. They can't cross pilot each other's. They all have to pilot their own. And again, those are things that they reveal as time goes on. Getting back more towards the beginning, though, what if I were to say what the show is about? It's about.
I was really hoping you just went, you know what, man? I have no idea.
That's not a bad answer either. No, actually, I did feel like I had a pretty good grasp for it at the end. This is what I wrote down here.
It got chunky.
Even though it's kind of I can see that. Even though it's kind of freeform here. The big question is, can you go too far to save the world? Like, are you willing to pay the price? Are you willing to pay any price? Like, what is the personal cost or the cost to the people around you that you love or that you're fighting for?
Okay.
That might exceed your breaking point. And what does that mean? Will you continue to fight on, or are you willing to trade off and let the world end?
I can see why this show led to your weekend of Existential Dread.
It was more like 4 weeks of Existential Dread. So the leftovers took me a few weeks. I watched this over the course of a week, and then the next day after I was done with this, I watched Burning. What
can we watch tonight that's just going to completely shut you down?
well, that's why I said, I kind of stepped back. I did watch a new episode of Archer. Archer's going to have to wait. Archer's been really good this season.
Yeah?
Yeah. I've been very pleased with it. What I was impressed with this show is that it largely eschews and actually transcends a lot of the tropes that you see in these anime shows. Because when you go in, you kind of expect some certain things, good and bad, but there's certain like negative connotations. But again, things that I've watched that were aimed at a younger audience, where you see those sort of things. For its time, and when you consider the source and the culture, it's surprisingly egalitarian in its objectification of people. That being said, there are definitely some notable exceptions. There are some things that go on that you expect in these sorts of shows, objectifying women. Even very early on in the show, I was like, oh, we're going to do that, this whole thing. And then the next episode, there's a sight gag for like 90 seconds making fun of the main character who's a 14-year-old boy from a female perspective. Okay. It's like, you know what? Touche. If we're going to do that thing, if we're going to get into the weeds of it, do it on both sides. More power to you. Like, I will say it's probably not 50-50. Probably like 60-40.
You know, that's really funny.
You know what? That's kind of like, could you do much better for that time? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's kind of cool. Those are like the areas of anime that have always been like a little awkward.
It's something that I've become more aware of in more recent years, readings of stuff. It's like, you know what? I never really noticed it. That is kind of a problem.
And that being said, it's like with that aside, anime in general, I've never really been hooked.
Yeah.
But I will say, I can appreciate why someone would be. Yeah. Like, I get it. I just don't think it's necessarily for me, but there are things that I do like. Like, I'm interested to watch this.
If all of them measured up to this, I would watch more of it.
Okay.
It was, let me just, if you want my early review of it, like, here.
Spoiler alert, I liked it.
I liked it a lot. I'm gonna need some
I love it.
I'm gonna need some time before I, like, watch it again, maybe. But I...
Like Logan style?
Feel like I want to watch it again. You know what I mean? Like, it was... It got weird. But we've never been afraid of weird around here. No. We actually embrace it quite often.
I'd say.
Like Cloud Atlas.
Your shirt's off right now.
Yeah, it always is when we it's so not weird now that we don't even talk about it, except for, like, now, or like when we had Mike on. Hey, Mike. They found a new way to portray the action every week, which I thought was cool because, well, it's actually not every episode, but a lot of the episodes there are major action set pieces, which I know is something you've said in recent years doesn't interest you as much, and I can understand that. For this sort of thing, you know, it's not really what I was looking for either. The reason I watched this is because I've heard of if it's examination of the human condition, which I think I've already pointed to it being a serious part of it, and I still have more about that to talk about. But what is cool is in the nature of the enemy that they fight, every one of them is different. So it allows them to literally do something different every week.
That's cool.
which is cool, and that's what keeps it fresh.
Well, and it's also that's pretty common for anything that has like some sort of like weekly cadence or something like that. Like any.
But
like,
a lot of them fall
like
in their face because they do the same thing. You know what I mean? This didn't, which is cool. Now I will say, like I said, the things that you like expect to see. There is a fair amount of angst in this. But again, when you consider that your 3 of your main characters are 14-year-old and the world is ending around them, the angst is very well earned in this.
Okay.
And they're judicious with it. You know what I mean? Like, hey, we're leaning into this full scale in this episode because, like, the adrenaline's worn off. Like, it's time to pick up the pieces and deal with what's going on today. You know what I mean? Like,
so it's more angst and not like whiny bitch.
There's a little bit of that. But there's going to be that in anything. Most of it is...
On a scale of 0 to the Order of the Phoenix, how whiny are we talking?
3.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, like, there can be moments where it's... like, and then, like, it's over. You know what I mean? Like, most of the angst is earned. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. This is literally too much for me to deal with right now.
I can't even.
Yes. And also, like, the hyperbolic reactions that you expect in, like, the sort of... There are occasionally, but they're very judicious with it.
What do I
do? There's no catchphrase or anything like that. Like, they totally skip all of that thing. Like, none of that shit. It largely excludes, like, the pratfalls that you expect in those anime. Like, every once in a while, it'll spice it up with one, but there's not, like, it's not like that happens, like, every 5 seconds.
Cool.
I was surprised because they really hold off from it in the first maybe 5 episodes. It can be really fucking funny.
Oh, yeah.
Which you kind of need that to, like, ease the tension occasionally. Sure. But it's like, there's like some episodes that are like...
Man, we talk about that with, no spoilers, we talk about that with, like, Endgame. Like,
yeah.
The movie would be, like morbidly depressing if it wasn't for all the comedy peppered in to help you along.
I will say by the end of the show, they kind of stop, and there's a good reason.
Yeah, okay.
The music in this was great, especially for the time that it was in.
You know what to say to me.
Now, some of the things that are in it are kind of like checking box, like, oh, I kind of expect this from an anime thing.
Okay.
But not necessarily in a bad way.
Yeah,
like, there's some little electronic in here. Yeah. There's some overly aggressive guitar at times. 1995 anime.
It's like the hair on your arm sticking up, like you're getting excited about it.
I'll say I'm a big fan of the fight music. That's one of the things, like, when, like, the big fight scenes,
when the boss fight.
And it's, like, very inspired by, like, Jaws, actually. I feel like this is the missing link between Jaws and, like, the Hans Zimmer, like, Dunkirk, because it's that very, like, organic, like, this is overwriting your, like, pulse, like, your heartbeat type of thing. Because it literally starts with dun, 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 and it keeps building, and then they start adding in things on top of it.
So between Jaws and Dark Ominous,
this is the missing link. Yes.
The masturbating dog killer's on the loose again. Boom.
So if I was going to describe what the experience of watching the show was like, I think this was kind of cool. I kind of came up with this on the fly, and then it became more and more. Picture you wake up on a train, and you look outside, and you realize you're about to be pulling out of the train station.
Okay, so far so good.
You don't remember getting on the train.
Okay, been there. That was a longer story. Go on.
And this gives you a little bit of a panic for a second, but you look around. It's like there's some sort of commotion going on in the train station. But it doesn't matter because the wheels are rolling.
We're leaving, yeah.
It's like, okay, this is weird. I don't remember getting on this train. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know anyone sitting around me. But everyone seems friendly. They're all actually talking to each other. They're having a good time.
Okay.
Nothing seems wrong on the train. Having a good time. And the train's going, and your phone, you got no service. So you don't recognize any of the landmarks around you as you're cruising through the countryside. It's a little concerning, but... someone comes by with a food cart, you get some food, someone offers you a half their sandwich, whatever, everything's nice. People are kind of, like, absorbing you into the culture of on the train. It's like, okay, like, don't feel like I'm in any danger. No one seems to know each other here, but everyone seems friendly. That's great. And the train's going for a while, and, you've kind of, someone rings on we're only 1 more hour till our destination. Oh, that seems okay. We'll figure it all out when we get off the train. And then... everything gets a little bit surreal, and you realize that it feels like you have this heightened sense of time is slowing down around you, where you're experiencing things at a higher rate. Mm-hmm. and everything's moving slower around you, and you realize that something is off. And it's the angle of everything you're looking at. You look outside, and you realize it's because the train is slow motion derailing, but you're experiencing it in full speed as the train is slowly tipping. And you're looking around. Is anyone else experiencing this as you, or do you have vertigo? Oh, no. You look down at your hands. Those aren't hands. Those are snakes eating your wrist. Oh, that's right. You must have been drugged with acid when you had that half a sandwich that person offered you. Oh, my God, the snakes are eating my hands. And then you walk off the train.
What the fuck? Okay, so I have a very serious question right now while all this is going on. Are the lights flickering?
Yes.
Thank God.
It was perfect that happened while I was doing that.
Al was staring directly into my soul while he said that, and
the lights
the world was starting to kind of slow down around me, and the lights were flickering, and I was like, am I being hypnotized?
Look at your hands, they're snakes, and they're eating your wrist.
That was terrifying.
It sure is.
Where did some of those very specific examples come from?
Couldn't tell you. I don't remember anything I said.
I blacked out.
Yeah, no. So it is like watching a slow motion train derailment, because it starts off and it's, a lot of times when you get the fish out of water type storyline, right? You and the main character are both learning as you go along, right? Mm-hmm. You're both the fish out of water, and he's the surrogate for you in the story. In this case, he has that to a certain extent. Shinji is the main character, although it's kind of a Lord of the Ringsian main character, where it's like he gets like 40% of the
other people are like pretty much equally important.
Equally important, but just get slightly less screen time. You know what I mean? But it's what is kind of cool about it is it's the way that the narrative is presented is actually kind of Game of Thronesian, where you're following this main person and you get inner monologue for him, and then you'll follow for a couple of minutes this other character, but you'll get inner monologue for that person too. But then you'll jump back out and you're back to this person, even within the same scene. So you get snapshots of a lot of what's going on over the course of it. Okay. A lot of different things. It's complex, but he has more information going in than you do. You have almost no information. He gets thrown right into the shit, and he knows a little bit what's going on, but he still also doesn't know much. So he starts off a little bit ahead of you, and then he jumps up way past you, and you're like, whoa. And then you kind of get it, and then you kind of catch back up, and you're on the same pace for a while. And then you go along, and as the thing starts going, the train starts derailing before you realize it. And by the time you realize it, it's too late. All you can do is watch it happen around you and wonder if everyone else realizes it's happening, or if it's only you who can tell. Really? And then it just gets super fucking trippy at the end.
You're really making me want to watch this.
It's good. We're going to start watching it tomorrow.
All right.
Not tonight. Tomorrow. I don't know if I have anything else, really. If there's any questions that you have that you want to ask me about it, I will do my best to answer without spoiling.
How weird was the ending? Like, were you able to adjust to the weird situation of retconning like 2 episodes?
So the thing is, again, without getting into specifics, like I said, they implied at where it was going on, but at a certain point, like I was trying to allude to with how specific and personal the project was for him, and the nature of, they don't actually care about these suits and these angels. They care about how these people are dealing with this crisis. That's what the story is really, really about.
Got it. That's
where they go for the final 2 episodes.
Does somebody at some point have their hands eaten by snakes?
No. No, that was entirely from my own twisted mind.
I mean, you sold me on it. The way that you're talking about it, the vibe that I get is that by the end of it, it's probably not going to be my favorite thing, but I'm not going to be sorry I experienced
really liked it.
So
I really liked it.
Okay.
It's weird. It's really fucking weird. But it was really good.
I can get down with weird.
But so to kind of put a final point on that whole idea of the split between the final 2 episodes and the end of the movie, they go really deep inside with those 2 episodes, and they leave the outside world stuff to your imagination some. And in the movie, they find a different way to tell the specific part of the story they want to tell about the interior stuff.
Okay.
But thematically it's the same. They give you all of the actual outside stuff that's going on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they're telling the same story, it'd be like if I told a story about something to someone and then you told that same story, how the perspective changes even though we're telling the same story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Neither thing makes the other one...
A little telephony, but...
Neither one of the things becomes invalid because you're going to focus on different details of the story because your eyes perceive it differently than I did.
That's really funny, and I wonder...
They don't actually cancel each other out. They work in concert.
There's like what I really like about what you're saying there is I watched this back when The Dark Knight had come out. There was this anime Batman series. Like it was like 5 or 6 Batman animes, and it was all Batman from different perspectives. Mm-hmm. So it was like the kid seeing him as like this superhero, and it was the addict, like drug dealer, seeing him as like this terrifying bat because he was like an actual bat because he was hallucinating, and like they kept going with like all these different. And I thought that was like really cool. Like that's the point is still the same.
Yes.
But the perspective was different.
It's the same idea.
It became everybody's own story, which was kind of cool.
It's the same idea as Luke and Ben Solo telling their two sides and then getting the truth. That's really... The full picture of it is the thing that you get at the end, whereas the two episodes or the movie are one of them or the other telling the story. Whether
it was fleeting or right in your face... It was the taste of betrayal.
So what I would say on those things is I really like the original, and understanding the context for its issues afterwards filled in the gaps for it. Mm-hmm. I like the movie on its own too, although it gets a bit gratuitous in telling its story. Because it just goes like I thought we were fully off the deep end, and then I found it went 5 foot deeper. It's understandable, but the very end, or let's say 8 of the final 10 minutes. They literally literally put a middle finger up to the audience, and it's understandable when you consider like they were receiving death threats. So I will give a little bit of a spoiler. At one point, there is a sequence during the full trippiness where there's real live footage of people in theaters and stuff like that, and they start flashing and over at different periods of time. There's flashing of Japanese characters on the screen. Yeah. During especially a lot of like the trippier like internal monologue scenes. And the things that are important, they give you English subtitles for, although sometimes they can be hard to track just because they don't sit well on the screen. And in this case, what they put up on the screen was actual copies of the death threats they received. That's what I'm saying. It was literally a middle finger. You got what you wanted. I made the fucking movie for you. This is what took to make it. Thanks a lot, guys. Wow. You literally were telling us to kill ourselves, or we're going to come and kill you because we ruined the ending to the show. And then the very, very final scene is actually a bit of an FU as well. Although it's ambiguous enough that you can choose to read it how you want. Sure. There is a discrete and definite ending to the show. It's not actually like any sort of cliffhanger thing. But something specific that happens in it is left a little bit up to interpretation.
Okay, I gotcha.
So it's the type of thing where I spent...
Man, I'm sold. You got me.
I spent about half an hour reading up some stuff after I was done watching it all. Yeah. That helped fill in some of the gaps. Because there was a couple of times where... Because this was redubbed and re-aired from Japanese to English and modernized from 1995 to 2019, and I'm sure there's just occasionally things just get left on the cutting room floor on top of that. Yeah, there was a couple of things that I couldn't quite track. Like I feel like I got the gist of it, but like the puzzle piece wasn't fitting for me. And I read it at the end. I was like, "Oh, that makes sense. Totally got it now." But that was like 3 things over the run of the show. Like it wasn't a big deal. Most of it I was able to track as it was going. Sure. At least the spirit of what they were trying to tell you, if not the specifics.
Cool. You got me.
I really enjoyed it.
I'm in.
It's fucking weird. If anyone who's heard this and want to give it a try, just understand it's going to be weird. Maybe keep yourself to watching 2 or 3 episodes at a time. Yeah. And don't let too long of a gap in between watching it. Cause
I can imagine.
Something where... But it's easy to... I mean, like, when you strip, like, the pre and post, like, the credits, like... Yeah. It's 19 to 21 minutes of episode at a time. It's super easy to cruise through.
Cool. That's exciting. I want to watch it. You definitely sold me. With that being said, I think we need to get into our flick of the week.
Makes sense.
Hello, and welcome to episode 95 of Flix and 6. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Costanzo. With me, forever and always, the man, the myth, old Georgie, Alessandro Bailey. Say hello, Al.
I may have won a rear guard action or two against Decrepitude.
On this week's episode, we're going to keep it light on the news and nuggets. We're only going to do probably one or two. We got something very big to talk about.
Very special.
Very special
Something
to
we talk
us,
about
very
for a
special
while.
to our listeners.
At least one or two of them.
We're going to do Cloud Atlas.
Yeah.
Finally.
Fucking finally.
Finally. 95 episodes in.
Finally.
Here it is.
Long promised. Has it been a year since we made our initial promise that you were going to sit down and watch it?
I'm pretty sure.
It's been about a year.
It's been a year since I've made no progress. Before we dive into that, though, we'll do one quick nugget, something interesting about lightsabers. But first, Al, what are we drinking?
Well, it seemed like it made perfect sense to drink a Newburgh beer, one of our beloved beers.
Naturally.
With our beloved movie, Cloud Atlas. So we're drinking Ruby Soho Saison.
Ruby. Saison.
Brewed with rhubarb and honey.
What?
It's the Brewed with Heart series. You may have heard a couple of those in the past.
Rhubarb?
Yes, Rhubarb, exactly. Proudly brewed and bottled by Newburgh Brewing Company in Newburgh, New York. It is 7.0% alcohol by volume. This was 1 pint and 0.09 fluid ounces.
Pints.
Bottle-
It comes in pints and points.
Bottle conditioned and primed to explode.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
This was a dramatic opening right before we got on air.
So what Al doesn't realize is that's exactly how explosive the beers that he gives me usually are.
Yeah, it's something about this house.
It's the pressure. It's the air here in Jersey.
Because this is the Brewed with Heart series, we get a little note from Chris Basso, who is the head brewer. Ruby Soho Saison. Ruby Soho is a nod to a style of beer that we love, with something else we love. Let's try that again. Ruby Soho is a nod to a style of beer that we love, with something else we love. Supporting our local farmers. Ruby Soho is a 7.0% alcohol by volume Belgian Saison that was brewed with rhubarb from Black Horse Farms and honey from Hudson Valley Harvest.
My mind just registered that with rhubarb and Black Horse, and I was like, why?
And honey from Hudson Valley Harvest. It has a gentle tartness from the rhubarb that is complemented with subtle honey notes.
Seriously, you are just giving me gold. Gentle.
A delicious example of what can be accomplished by supporting local. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh my god. That is gently tart.
Oh. That's nice.
It's funny, I have barely held memories of rhubarb because when we had... You remember the condo that we lived in Vermont?
Yes.
We had rhubarb growing under our back porch. So every once in a while...
Doesn't seem that's where you'd want it to be.
We'd pick the rhubarb, and my mom knew someone who made strawberry rhubarb pie.
Okay.
And we would get a little bit of that pie since it was our rhubarb.
What does a rhubarb look like? Does it kind of have like a Swiss yard look to it? Almost like a stalk?
Celery.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I
Yeah,
feel
but it's like red.
Yeah. Swiss chard is like, it looks like red celery.
But isn't Swiss chard like thin though? This is thicker. That's what I'm saying.
It's thin. And
that's why I said
like
celery
leafy,
first, because it's a thicker. If I
Gotcha.
remember, because it's been a while since I've actually seen it outside of like a piece of pie.
Sure. Outside of the pie.
Yeah.
Free pie.
We had the two great things about living in that condo. We had the rhubarb growing underneath the porch, and if you walked behind the unit, there was a little creek.
I remember the creek.
And during the spring and summer, blackberries grew next to the creek. So
Berries.
Blackberries.
Black bears is what
Black
I heard.
bears grew up.
They grew up there
On the bushes
They're
behind
hanging out.
We used to pluck those little bears right off the vine.
They were so fluffy.
So I would have a lot of breakfasts during the summer with wild blackberries in my cereal.
In my breakfast.
In my cereal.
Yeah, fair enough.
Allow myself to introduce myself.
That sounds nice. That's a nice little treat.
It was.
Blackberries out there, the rhubarb. I'd like to grow some stuff.
Speaking of, it sounds pretty nice. This beer.
Very good.
Yeah. First of all, the Brewed with Heart series has never let us down. We've done 2 or 3 of them.
That's where the Sour Jessica Porter came from, right?
Yes.
That was probably one of the most unique and delicious beers
It was so good.
Yeah.
That was a while ago that we did that one.
Yeah, I will never forget that one.
Yeah, that
I
one.
asked about it when I was there.
Yeah, I think it was like a limited release because it was from this series. Mm-hmm. Like they might have cast or like held some in reserve to like. You know what I'm pissed about? I fucked up. I was gonna do it. I just saw it like 2 days ago online, And I told you I drive by it like twice a day while I'm taking care of the cats for my brother, who's taking care of it for his boss. And I was driving by Thursday night before we recorded last week's episode, and
Last week's episode yesterday.
Last week's episode
Got
last
it.
night, yes.
Yeah.
It's the John Oliver show, right? Yeah, last week tonight. And before I had gone there, I was like, oh, I should make sure I stop there because they just started selling Newburgh Brewing koozies. So I should pick up a koozie. I'm going to go see Anthony tomorrow. I was exhausted, totally forgot until I got home and we started recording. I didn't say anything then.
I know you started off that this was a sad story, but I fully expected you to pull a koozie out at the end of that story to like become the champion.
I thought you were going to say, I was totally expecting you to pull a koozie out of your ass there. I will endeavor to get you a koozie. I really meant to. I was like, oh, this is perfect. I'm going to see him tomorrow. Let me buy it. Totally forgot.
Well, you're a savage. This is Thumb Up.
This is a delight.
But a real one. See, you know what's funny?
I've totally corrupted the word.
You made a you instilled a complex in me.
Yes.
I've heard somebody else say that something was a delight, and I just didn't believe them.
I ruined the word for you. Yes. I ruined the word for you. No, this is really, really good.
Yeah.
Because it is subtly tart. Or I'll say that the rhubarb is subtle. The honey, surprisingly, in there, it doesn't overwhelm the honey.
Everything that's in this beer would generally lead it to be something that I would not care for.
I like honey.
I don't know. I like those things by themselves, but for whatever this style, this flavor, this
you're not big on this, but the ones I've given you, you've seemed to have enjoyed.
This in particular is the best one I think that you've given me of this style.
It like skirts the line of it's not quite
to
a sour. It's not quite a sour saison.
We got to get back to singing the theme songs.
I should have whistled. Maybe when we start the movie, I'll whistle the theme.
Okay.
Because I was doing it before that I played the actual Cloud Atlas sextet on to get us in the mood for the episode, and then we got going before the beer exploded.
Everywhere.
Let's get into this new real quick.
Yeah,
Wait, no, sorry. How many thumbs?
One thumb.
Still only one thumb?
Well, the thing is...
See, I'm telling you, you're overly restricted by the thumb scale.
Is it time? Do I have to increase the scale?
You have to. The fact, like, you liked this beer and you loved this beer and they have the same grade.
Yeah.
How many thumbs?
It's one thumb.
One thumb still.
For me, the other one would probably be rated higher. The other one is the one that suffered by the scale. It wasn't this one.
Which one?
The other one.
Oh, okay.
But
let's talk about some news.
The last Newburgh one we did.
Yeah. Which one was that again? A significant change has been made to improve. This is from IGN.com. This is on today. A significant change has been made to improve lightsabers in Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker.
Pause. So I read that headline earlier today, and I meant to go back to it, and the whole day I've been thinking, what could have possibly been changed that qualify as significant?
Talking to Wired via comic book, Ray Actor...
What does that mean?
Wired...
They wrote a comic book and they gave it to them?
No, I think it's via comicbook.com. Ray Actress, Daisy Ridley, talked about...
Actor.
Yeah, well, but she's an actress.
We use actor, I think, across the board now.
Do we?
I think so.
Oh, this is news to me. Okay. Ray Actor, Daisy Ridley, talked about a key difference in the new lightsabers, explaining that they are notably lighter than ones used in previous films, including The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, allowing for more acrobatic fights, which...
Sorry, say it again. What does it do?
The actual lightsaber that they're using on set is being made to be lighter so she can swing it more easily.
Yeah.
Which is leading to more acrobatic fight scenes, which has been one of the few complaints I've had of these new movies, is that when you come off the high of how, like, balletic that the fight scenes in the three prequel movies are...
When they were sparring with flashlights.
Yeah. No, like, it was incredible, the choreography that they did.
It absolutely was.
I feel like... Now, I totally understood why they chose not to do it for The Force Awakens. There's real reasons to, with her not having the training to do so. But at this point now, especially we're going to get at least, I think they confirmed was a year time jump or something like that.
Something.
She should have more training, and she should be able to handle more technically sound fighting skills. Show me something, man.
Yeah.
It's 2019. Show me something cool.
I'm down with that. You've seen all those old school behind the scenes footage of like it looks like tinfoil wrapped up in a stick.
Yeah. And then I've seen the ones that look like the fish sticks, not like the food fish sticks, like the ones that you use for electrical wiring on the end of the thing, and they're like smacking them back and forth when it's like Ewan McGregor.
Significant wobble.
Yeah.
It's like it probably.
That's why I said it reminds you of the fish sticks because those can bend.
Yeah. Like, it probably took a lot more effort to actually edit that into a lightsaber because like you have to clip out the bend of the
Yeah. I already heard they were tweaking the visuals of the Respawn's Jedi Fallen Order.
Oh.
There was some complaint about the lightsaber looking like it was solid blue, and they want to get it back to looking like it was white tinged with blue. And they said, "Yep, totally sound criticism. We fixed it. It's gonna be fine."
I like that. I like that response.
Have you read any of their coverage on Game Informer? Game Informer made it the cover of the month last month.
No, I am actually.
There's a million stories in there. I know you're always afraid of like spoiler stuff. They really didn't give you anything.
It's not even that with the video game. Is I don't know how much more I could really hear about it. What I'm gathering from this is I got to experience the game.
That's a lot of it, yes. But there was conversation about stuff like that I found interesting. Just showing like attention to detail to what they were making, and like the thought processes behind why they chose to do certain things from like a very macro standpoint that I found interesting. But as far as the specifics of the game, you're right. There's nothing plot spoiler. They're being very adamant. Like we're not telling you anything about it. Some of just like the mechanics of the game they've been talking about that I find interesting. Like you said, some of that you need to just experience, but some of it I found interesting, like the relationship that you have with your ship, how it becomes kind of an open world game where you can travel anywhere you want at any time once they open that pathway up to you. And the idea of wanting you to level up over the course of it and then re-examine areas, and that there'll be story reasons to take you back to some of the areas, and that you can just choose to go there because it'll mark off like, hey, I can't get to that now, but eventually I'll be able to, like because it's tied to like abilities.
I like that concept. I've been getting the vibe that it's a game that's going to be a lot more fun to play than to talk about, which is okay.
Yeah, that's probably true.
I'm totally fine with that. I just need to. I don't know. The things I'm hearing aren't like super overwhelming. Like, and I'm just like, let me just experience it when it comes out. But if you come across something that's like, ooh, then yeah, keep bringing it up.
Okay. The interesting thing about this film is that we concentrate more on the fact that the lightsabers are light. Because the old lightsabers were so heavy, as Eunice said. Eunice is the new stunt coordinator.
I want to know how heavy they were. This is just raising more questions for me.
That it was more like broadsword fighting, which isn't technically what it's supposed to be, because lightsabers are supposed to be light by nature. So they actually made the lightsabers lighter for us. We, in this film, have perhaps one of the most epic fights in Star Wars. She mentioned this change.
So excited. It's happening.
She also mentioned this. Yeah, we're only like 5 months away. 5 months. Almost to the day. 5 months away.
Wait, when do we get a trailer? Another trailer?
September or October.
Okay.
They always do it during Monday Night Football.
Yeah. Oh my god. It's happening. I'm getting that fuzzy, that warm fuzzy.
The thing, that meme with, what's his name? The crazy old politician guy. It's the one that's got the flashing stuff. He goes like this, and it's happening. More
like wacky waving inflatable arm pulling too.
Yeah, Al Harrington's wacky waving arm. Did I send you that meme with, or it might have been like it was like a mini comic strip. It was a conversation between at a dinner table, and it was this wacky waving arm inflatable tube man saying, "Dad, I really want to become a doctor." He says, "You're going to get into the family business, strip ass naked, and wave your arms in front of a building."
So good.
When asking, she also mentioned this change during the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast when talking about a fight between Rey and Kylo in the upcoming film. It's a great fight. I've become such a better fighter, and they made the lightsabers lighter, so it actually looks like we're swinging light and not heavy swords.
That's cool.
This fight, it was in November. We had water being thrown at us. I'm not going to complain about the cold. I'm just not going to do it. So, and she started laughing. So it was like a real thing of stamina. It felt really epic. Felt epic even at that time. One can only imagine what it's going to look like in the final product.
You know what's funny? Until this came out, it didn't dawn on me. They do look heavy.
Yes.
Now that I'm thinking about it, like I'm thinking.
You can see the weight as when they like zoom in, especially when she's on Octo, where she's swinging the thing around.
Yeah.
You can see the weight at the end of her arm as she comes to the end of the strikes.
Yeah. That's so funny.
It was less apparent with him, but his fighting style was much more like close.
Oh, I thought it's. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think it's pretty clear that it's his heavy as well.
I guess so, but I guess it was like it seemed less noticeable to me because his movements are so like tight. Like, even though he's like tall and lanky, he keeps his arms close to his body during like the fight and a lot of the swings where she gets full extension a lot. Like think about like her swinging at the rock.
Fluttery.
She's got like that classic stance with like her body turned and her arm at full extension.
Okay, how do we make the hero look more badass?
Yeah,
like that. How do we make it suck for the hero? Make the lightsaber happy.
Do you want to tackle any other news before we get into the movie, or are we good with that? We can push other stuff until the next one.
No, let's push it to the next one. Let's get into our flick of the week.
All right, let's do it.
Hello, and welcome to episode 95 of Flix in a Six. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Costanzo. With me, forever and always, the man, the myth, the Soylent Green, Alessandro Bielsi. Say hello, Al.
Soylent Green is people. Soylent Green is made of people.
On this week's episode, we're going to keep it light with the news and nuggets because we got something really important to get to. A
really
movie that we've been very excited to get to.
Something that
Al's been very excited to get to.
I've been excited. Some of our audience members, Mike, my cousin Mike, hey Mike, has been excited for it. We've discussed talking about it for a long time. Yeah. And so we figured it's finally time to get to it.
It's time. And with that being said,
but first,
our flick of the week is Cloud Atlas.
Yes.
But first, Al, what are we drinking?
Which we're drinking? We figured we would do something special with Cloud Atlas being our episode of the week. We would do one of our favorite beer, or one of our favorite breweries at least, because I haven't had this beer yet, and you for damn sure have not had it yet. Maybe. Well,
No.
Been holding on to this one for a while for you.
You're like, you went there again, you son of a bitch?
I still can't believe you went there when I live like 12 minutes away. And I was only like 18 minutes ahead of you on the highway.
I was still drunk, I'm pretty sure.
It was a good time.
It was fun.
We're drinking a Newburgh beer if you weren't able to.
The house was run by Nazis.
It was Nazi, get it straight.
Thanks a lot, Vicky.
Yeah. We're talking about Newburgh Brewing Company, if you hadn't figured that out by now. Margaritaburg is the name of this beer. It's an imperial sour ale. It says to drink local. They continue to put the white text on the yellow square.
Yeah, maybe we should talk to them about this.
Sorry, I know people there. Alcohol 9.0% by alcohol by volume. 60.
What does that say, though? It says the same thing on all of them, or no?
Proudly brewed and canned by Newburgh Brewing Company, Newburgh, New York, USA. Drink local. It's a sour ale. It's an imperial goza brewed with salt, lime, and agave.
Whoa.
What?
That's how you say that?
Yes.
That's funny.
It's a...
goza.
I believe it's a German word, and it is their style of
goza.
Sour beer. Yes. Because Checkpoint Charlie Berliner Weiss is a... Or I guess Berliner Weiss. That's Edelweiss. It's an imperial goza brewed with salt, lime, and agave. It's not a margarita. It's a Margaritaburg.
I like it. Man, they really nail it with their cans. Give me a cheers here. I'm excited about this one. Let's go.
Oh, that smells sour.
Whoa. That singed the nostrils.
Oh, that is something. Whew. First of all, let me just give me a little round of applause for Newburgh. Yeah. Doing a sour beer, 9% alcohol by volume. It's hard to do. Because in order to get the alcohol by volume that high requires a lot of yeast production of alcohol, rendering from the sugar. And sometimes when you get up to or exceeding 10%, this is only 9%. You don't like it?
No, I like it. It's a straight up margarita. That is why it's high alcohol content.
Well, I don't think they added any tequila to this one, though they did add the agave and salt and lime. Was that the last one? Lime, yes. But for them to get that high alcohol by volume, you need to have a lot of yeast. It has to be like fervent in its...
Is it wild yeast?
Well, with the sour, it may have been. Actually, I'm not sure what version of souring they do for this goza. Your cat's eating that.
What's she doing?
This is great radio.
This is... I
us watching your cat.
Yeah, it's
fine.
Keep going. I'm gonna see. You keep talking. I'm gonna see where
Once
this goes.
you start getting up to and over 10% alcohol by volume, a lot of times you have to repitch the yeast because as the alcohol content increases, it kills the living yeast in it. So it's literally the yeast are killing themselves by creating too much alcohol. When you
sick bastards.
The souring process causes a lot of that to slow down. So for them to be able to get it up this high,
what do I do?
What did I do? I love that movie so much.
We should watch that later.
I'm okay with that too. You said we needed to cleanse the palate a little bit after all the existential dread that I've been dealing with these last few weeks between the leftovers, Neon Genesis Evangelion, which by the end of this I don't know I'll be able to pronounce properly.
Every time,
and you never have. I don't think at this point.
I haven't really tried, if I'm being honest. But every time you say it, I'm trying to. I can't think of it.
Well, I know. I only realized after we started talking about it that you thought I was saying of Evangelion.
Oh yeah.
And no, it's one word, Evangelion.
Got it. This is nonsense.
It's a lot of nonsense.
I feel like I'm getting drunk smelling this.
Let's
beer.
talk. Also, did you notice
sediment?
Well, yeah, but no. There's like bubbles, like not just the normal, like bubbles that are in a beer, not just the normal. There's like pockets of. I'm not entirely sure what. Is it the agave? Is it from the salt? Maybe. Most beers don't have salt in it. You know what I'm talking about? There's like bigger other things that aren't like settlement that looks like it's like pockets of stuff floating in the beer.
I have no idea, dude.
I think it might be the salt.
I see what you're talking about.
I think it might be the salt.
Big grains of salt on the margarita.
But yeah, no, you're right. This is very margarita-esque. This is one of the more unique beers I've ever had. It's pretty delicious. I think I'm good with just the one, though. I don't think I'd want to drink a lot of these.
I think I'm good with just the half of one. Is what I.
Well, if you need, I mean, we're sitting here. It's great that we get to record together.
Yeah, that's true. Just
if you need
slide
me
it over to you.
If you need me to help, I'm willing, ready, and able to help.
The thing is, it's so good. This is it's weird because if you could see my face right now, yeah,
because it's so sour and salty at the same time.
You would think that I dislike this.
Yeah.
If you could see my face, I take a sip.
You look perturbed,
and it's like. That's what it looks like. That's pretty sure that's close to the noise I made when I smelled it the first time. But it is really tasty.
It is. It's a lot.
It is a lot. There are weird other bubbles in there.
I'm not going crazy.
It's that wild yeast though. just dancing at the top. This is the first. Okay, I officially agree with you that we're getting into an area that I need more than a 5-star rating.
Yes.
Because I don't know where to place it.
It's just too complicated.
Because this would be a thumb up.
I feel like every single one is a 1, and then, but it's like, I feel like you're like, there's, like, you talk much more glowingly about some of them. Like, you talk pretty glowingly about something like a Ruby Soho. Mm-hmm. And you talked, like, satisfied about something like an ICA. Mm-hmm. But you give them the same grade.
Yeah.
And then it's feel like this isn't a 2 thumbs up.
Yeah.
But I feel like you need more than a 1 thumb for this.
I do need more than 1 thumb. This is like a special reserve label.
It gets its own entirely separate grading.
Because I really don't know how I feel about this. I know I like it. I just don't. I couldn't tell you.
Tell me how it makes you feel.
It makes me feel. Excuse me.
Drunk. Okay, next.
It makes me feel like
oh, that was a
I'm drinking like a. This is gonna sound insulting, but I don't mean it to be this way. No, it makes me feel like I'm drinking like a limerita, like one of those things, but by people that make actual beer. You know what I mean? Like not trash in a can.
Trash in a can. Trash.
Not just not lime and salt piss.
Lime and salt piss. I don't think I've ever actually had.
Not what's gonna come out of me when I'm done with this, but this.
I have never had any of the Rita series, and I count myself as lucky for having been so.
Oh yeah, that's
This reminds me of a fun story. Went to a concert a few weeks ago. It was.
Who did?
I did.
Oh,
I thought that was clear.
You were pointing directly at me. I did too, but you weren't there.
Country concert. Zach Brown. Couldn't remember who it was. At Bethel Woods, and we made the most of the day. It was a Friday. Everyone took off work. I met up with my friend Josh, who might listen to this. He's a pretty big fan of Cloud Atlas, actually. I put him onto it, as I have with all of the people who I know who've seen it, other than Mike. Hello again, Mike.
Come on, man. Where you at?
Yeah. So anyway,
we're doing this episode for you.
Yeah. What? So we made the full like of the day. We got there at like 3:00. You get the whole experience until the show starts at like 7. Josh had a grill set up.
Nice.
We
that's fun. Classic
tailgate fare. We brought an entire pot of meatballs in sauce.
Wow. Not 1,000 guesses wasn't going there.
You'd be forgiven for not having gotten it in 1,000 guesses, and yet it's the second time we brought that to Bethel Woods.
You know what? See, this is the one I want to go to with you. Bethel Woods, meatballs. Duh.
Who doesn't tailgate with freshly made meatball parm sandwiches?
Can I ask you advice?
Yes.
You've tailgated. You have tents. You have like those.
I do.
I have one that I got recently.
One of those pop-up tents?
Yeah, it's great. It's fantastic. It has a wall that comes down or goes up and makes it longer. Whatever you want to do with
it. It's like you have your own little Middle Eastern like harem, like
that's pretty great.
The whole like pavilion thing.
Question: when you put yours away, do you take the canopy off?
The main one, no.
You don't.
No.
Interesting.
Typically, a lot of them have Velcro straps that like
that's what mine has.
Secure it. You loosen those, but still leave the rest of it like main attached on.
That'll make it.
But
much
like
easier
tuck it
the next
into
time.
like the thing.
Oh yeah.
Because otherwise, it blouses and doesn't fit into the bag properly.
Got it. Thank you. I appreciate that. I definitely took it off. Next time, though, loosen.
Yeah, because otherwise, just loosen.
Just don't tighten.
The reverse of tighten.
Loosen.
Just loosen.
Got it.
That's
6 for all your
that is
needs.
The longest running inside joke we have.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's great because it's a visual joke, and you and I can, whether we're recording together on Skype, we can always see each other doing it, and no one can see us doing the thing.
It's either that or Dark Ominous Stones. It's one of the two. It might be that. I think it's the Titan. I think Titan's been going on for... Titan's been probably going on before the show.
Yeah.
Dark Ominous Stones has just come up because we're talking about like
definitely.
scores and music and the like.
Anyway, getting back to the tailgating. Important subject, obviously.
And the meatballs.
The meatballs. I had to go to the bathroom. I went to one of the porta potties. There's a line of them.
Uh-huh.
I walk into... they were getting a lot of use. But I just had to piss, so whatever. I walk in. I look down into the toilet. It didn't have one of like the mini urinal things to piss into.
Okay.
To piss into the main thing.
Huh?
There was a lot going on down there.
Excellent.
No. But what was excellent specifically about what was going on down there is someone dropped an entire Bud Light, I think it was one of the Rita series things, bottles into the unholy mess down below.
And somehow nothing changed.
Yes. Well, but it was perfect because the cap was still on it and all the liquid, it was full. It had been an unopened one dropped directly into it. It was like,
this too is piss. And they dropped it in.
I'm putting you where you belong. And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, I really hope someone isn't way too drunk and sees that and decides that I'm going to score a free beer.
Oh, no.
And with that thought while I was chuckling and taking my piss, I then left.
I just... So there's it's funny what you just said, chuckled, left. There's I told you recently I watched Hellboy last week. On last week's episode yesterday, I watched Hellboy. And
never gets old.
There's a great... So this is what I was talking about like some of the funny scenes that are in there. There's a great scene. So him and his dad, who is Ian McShane, which is great, have a wonderful relationship. And
he's starting to challenge Liam Neeson for dying too often in things that he roles that he portrays.
Oh yeah,
Ian McShane. I'm thinking between that and Game of Thrones. I think there's something else I saw that he died in too. I think he might have died in, spoiler alert, guys. I think he might have died in the Deadwood movie that just aired a month ago.
Movie?
Yeah, they finally did a movie to end the series.
Oh,
it was kind of
interesting.
canceled.
I was going to watch that.
I think he might have died in that.
Okay.
I never watched the show. My parents watched the show.
I think he's fantastic.
So I set it up for them to watch the movie when it came out because they were excited for that.
But there's a great... So this is what I want. This is what I was wanting to get at. That why I thought that movie was really funny. And this is exactly... This is the type of humor that you're going to get through it. And when you realize what you're getting, you enjoy it. But he's... Hellboy's in there and he's talking to his dad and they're having this this father-son conversation about shaving, but they're really grinding his horns. It's great. But anyway, they're talking. They're kind of bullshitting about like older things. He's laying back. Hellboy's laying back. He's eating like a slice of pizza, and he goes, "So why'd you call me here?" And he goes, "I've got a giant problem for you to deal with." And he's like, "Chewing, yeah? What is it?" And he goes, "Giants." and he goes, there's a long pause with the camera on him while he's chewing, and then he goes, "Ah!" and the scene ends. That's the type of humor that you get in that movie, which is why I think you'll actually like it. It's very fun. If you can go into it open that way, that it's not the Hellboy that you saw before, it's its own thing.
But I want it to be.
I know, you just go watch those again. It's fine.
Yeah.
But watch this after then.
Actually, I don't really completely love the second one. The first one's really good.
Well, the second one is like $3 on 4K Blu-ray, so it's probably not.
You good with this one? You need help?
I could use a little assistance. It's hard.
Speaking of Cloud Atlas, we're in need of a wee bit of assistance. Are there any true Scott in here?
Oh my god! You have them on command.
I love this movie. If you hadn't heard,
Surprising. I would have never known.
I've only been. The thing is, what's so offensive about this?
Yeah.
Is you like the movie?
Absolutely, I think it's fantastic.
You still have waited a year to rewatch.
I did. I'm sorry about that.
For the purpose of this episode.
Yeah, it's all about the long game.
It is about the long game. It's how Tiger Woods won all of his many majors.
Sorry. There's a new Bond movie coming out.
Oh, should we get to the news?
Let's get into the news and nuggets.
We decided we were going to do...
on account of going through this quickly,
news.
yeah.
Good thing we're sticking to that timeline. This is a story on Deadline. Following up a story I saw slightly earlier in the day, just merely hinting at this possibility, now confirming it, seemingly. Two-time Oscar winner Christoph Waltz is...
Love him.
What?
Love him.
Oh. I thought you were undermining me.
No.
I mean, functionally you did. But that wasn't your intention.
It wasn't my intent. I made you undermine yourself.
You sure did. Two-time Oscar winner Christoph Waltz is set to return as James Bond adversary Ernst Stavro Blofeld. I don't know why I started reading this in newscaster voice. In the Cary Joji...
Two-time Oscar winner.
Yeah. In the Cary Joji Fukunaga directed Bond 25. It's weird that they still don't have a title for that. Waltz was first introduced as Blofeld, the mastermind of the global criminal organization in the 2015 film Spectre. He joins returning franchise players, including star Daniel Craig, as well as Jeffrey Wright, Ralph Fiennes, Leigh Sedol, Naomi Harris, Rory Kinnear, and Ben Whishaw. Hey, funny that we mentioned Ben Whishaw. Important actor in Cloud Atlas. Rami Malek, Anna de Armas, Lashana Lynch, Billy Magnuson, David Densick, and Dali Ben Salah also co-star. After a few setbacks, including a soundstage explosion at Pinewood Studios, and Craig suffering an ankle injury that required surgery and convalescence, production continues to be underway in London.
So, I got questions.
Why I was using newscaster voice?
No, not so much. I'm okay with that. It's fine. Did you see the last Bond movie?
I did not. Did you?
See, that's the thing. I want to say yes, and I know for a fact that I did.
You know what? I did see a Bond movie. I watched all of The World Is Not Enough the other day. It's been a while since
Hang on. Guy that can't feel anything?
Yes.
Nice. Third Pierce Brosnan flick.
Yes.
Nice.
You really loved it when it came out.
Yes.
I enjoyed it. But you were obviously, ahead of me. We were young. I was 8. You were 10 or 11, whatever
great.
you were. Do you still enjoy it? Have you seen it?
I don't think I've seen it since then.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I was wondering if you hadn't seen it since the time when it was popular. I had seen it once, maybe 10 years ago. So I watched it again, kind of fresh, where it's I remember parts of it, but couldn't remember how
end.
Couldn't remember how it all stuck together.
Yeah.
And I was like, this was solid for its time period.
Here's a fun fact. Q.
Yes.
When that actor died, that was one of the first times I remember being attached to an actor and being like, oh, that's sad. He's not going to be in the next one.
I thought you were going to say that was one of the first times I cried.
The two are not mutually exclusive.
Actually, it was great too because he knew. Obviously, watching it again, it's like I feel like I remember that's the one right where they gave him an in memoriam when the movie first came out because he died after filming but before it was released.
I think so.
And so that was where they introduced John Cleese as R, I think. And that was the only one they did it with. They chose to not use him in Die Another Day, I don't think, right? Oh, no, he was in that.
He was in that.
That was the only other one he was in, that's right.
But was he Q at that point?
I think he just maintained R.
Oh, did he?
I don't remember, though.
That movie wasn't good, if I remember correctly.
It's watchable.
Oh, okay.
But it's not good.
Okay.
Good, because there's like some fun
Let me be clear, I own it.
I've seen it a million times, though.
Sure.
Unlike Die Another Day. Not Die Another Day. That was the one we're talking about.
Tomorrow Never Dies.
What?
GoldenEye. Tomorrow Never Dies.
Tomorrow Never Dies. That's the one we're talking about.
I like Tomorrow Never Dies.
That's one I've only seen it, like, I saw it, like, twice, like, when it came out, and that's 20 years ago.
I just said I like Tomorrow Never Dies. Gonna be honest with you.
You don't even know which one that is.
Don't remember. No, I know which one. I know it's the second one with him.
It's in, like, Hong Kong.
I remember there's a BMW motorcycle. There was a very strange third-person action video game tie-in.
PlayStation exclusive.
PlayStation exclusive.
Why do I know
Very confused.
Because I didn't own that.
Played it at my house.
I don't think I did, because you didn't own one, did you?
I got one late.
I don't even remember that.
Yeah,
I remember the N64, like, that you had for the longest time. Like, that's what I remember.
Oh. Man, world is not enough on that.
Yes.
It's great. That was good. People were like, oh, it's like GoldenEye. And you know what?
It wasn't, but it was still good.
It wasn't, but yeah, exactly. And like, graphically, it was impressive at the time. And I was like, oh my god, like, this is pretty cool.
For being on
that
the
had some really cool levels. There was like a level on an airplane, and like, you can, like, weird shit was happening outside.
It's weird because there's no big action sequence that happens on.
Oh no, those video games are very strange when it comes to.
No, but I feel like GoldenEye had a bunch of like decent representations.
Yeah, you know why though? I think because they took that game came out like 2 years after the movie.
Was it that long?
It was a long time, or it could have been 1 year, but it was after.
It's weird because usually they have them come within a couple of months, like,
which is what happened with this one, I believe.
Yeah.
Which is why they had to like fill in the gaps, I guess.
Okay. It was because I feel like I remember it being fairly strict to the plot in that GoldenEye game.
Yeah.
Weirdly so.
Yeah. I feel like I'm trying to remember. I feel like there's one. Isn't there like one really weird thing? There's the silo mission that Jaws is in.
In which one?
In GoldenEye.
Yes. Like, for no reason.
It's all over the place.
Because Jaws was in two of the 70s ones. He was in Moonraker, and he was in... Was it Diamonds Are Forever?
Me?
I forget. And one of them, he's a bad guy, and the other one, he's a bad guy and then becomes a good guy?
The Bond collection.
Because he has a weird 17-year-old girlfriend?
Okay, I don't even know what you're talking about at this point. Alright.
He has a questionably aged girlfriend on a space station, and he ends up allying with Bond because he realizes that the bad guy cut bait with him. And he's like, no, you know what? Fuck that guy. I'm getting out of here with my questionably aged girlfriend. I'll help you as we're escaping Bond.
I would like to get one of the collections, but as the movies keep coming out, I'm like, do I wait for the collection to be final? Will the collection ever be final?
It'll never be final. But this is the 25th one, so that would feel apropos.
Okay. Get some sort of like... I feel like I would like to get them... I would get the collection up to Pierce Brosnan, and then I would get those separately.
Why?
Just because like there was a large time gap between...
There's the same time gap between that and Die Another Day and what's it called?
That's true. That's true.
Or similar, at least.
Okay, so what number are we at if I go all the Pierce Brosnan ones included?
But not the Daniel Craig ones.
Yes. 20?
20 or 21? Because there's been...
20 would be nice.
Because there's been...
A weird thing with numbers.
been 4 Craigs?
Don't do that with your fingers.
4 Craigs?
Casino Royale, Quantum, Terrible, and one I can't remember.
Yeah, so there was 20 pre-Craig.
Man, you liked Skyfall, didn't you?
I liked it.
I'm going to have to rewatch that
But
movie.
a lot of people loved it.
I didn't like it.
And I just liked it. Because Casino Royale is definitively the best of the Craig ones. And
hands
definitively
down.
one of the best of them all, period.
Oh, yeah.
It's so fucking good.
So good.
That's one of the ones that makes my honorable mention. We talk about my top three. My top three being Cloud Atlas, this episode's movie. Lord of the Rings, Two Towers, and The Departed. This one just falls outside of that.
That's fair. I think that's totally fair.
I love Casino Royale.
It's a fantastic movie. It's so well done. It's just like... And then Quantum of Solace, or Quantum Marsala, as my dad says, is...
What was the song? It was the Daft Punk song with the chorus that he gets. We're up all night to get Mexican. That's what the line was.
We're up, yeah. Yeah. We're up all night to get. We're up all night to get. We're up all night to get. We're up all... And he thought it was We're up all Mexican. That man is a gem. Diamond in the rough, if you will.
That was a few weeks ago.
I share a special bond over the Bond films with my dad because he used to take me to see them, especially in that Pierce Brosnan era.
Yeah.
I'll never forget when I was very young. Me and him used to watch action movies all the time. We'd rent like Seagal movies, like things like that.
Schwarzenegger movies?
Well, I mean, I saw them all. So we went to see The Glimmer Man.
I'm not familiar with that one.
It was a Seagal movie. And I don't even remember what happened in the movie. But I do remember I was at the age where I was like, this seems inappropriate. And my dad, you could definitely see on my dad's face, he's like, I've made a mistake.
Well, anyway, I was wondering how you felt about Spectre, or at least how you felt about Blofeld in Spectre. Does it warrant him returning?
So here, that's what I'm really confused about, is I don't remember how it ended.
I mean, I don't.
Because
I didn't see it.
Which one was Javier Bardem in?
Skyfall.
Interesting. That's the one that I remember better. And I claim that that's the one that I dislike. I like him as a villain. I think he's a fantastic villain all around. Oh, that thing with the mouth and the
Yeah,
teeth.
it was gross. I didn't like it.
Man, I am all over the place with this one with Christoph Waltz. I don't remember what happened.
The only thing I can glean is from the trailer that I remember.
It wasn't memorable.
5 years ago.
The only thing that I could remember was I'm pretty sure the opening sequence is a continuous shot running through like a favela or something like that.
Wasn't that kind of what they did in the Casino Royale when he's running through the construction site?
Kind
parkouring?
of, but this is like extended and it's the whole opening.
The next Bond, can they just cast someone young who doesn't immediately become outdated by the second movie? Because Daniel Craig crushed it in Casino Royale.
Yeah, he did.
And he was just barely hanging on in Quantum. The movie was so bad it didn't matter.
Yeah.
That by the time Skyfall came out, he's already an old man who like they're not sure if he's fit for duty. Can they just cast someone who's like,
who do you want?
You know what? After all, I mean, listen, when they were talking about it years ago, if they had pulled the trigger on it then, I would have been totally fine with Idris Elba.
Years ago,
He's just too old now. He's too old. He's the same age as Daniel Craig, which means he's starting off already as too old.
Yeah.
Just go with Richard Madden. It'll be fine. It'll be great. We're gonna have a good time with it. Rob Stark.
Oh. Totally.
He's been hotly rumored for the last 6 months or so.
Oh, that would be cool.
He's like 30 years old or 32.
Okay, now who's going to be the villain in that movie?
Tom Hanks.
You're goddamn right. We got to start that petition. We got to make that happen.
I tried to start a hashtag today.
What was it?
How I got banned from Disney.
Sorry, I thought this was real. Oh! Yeah, I see it. I got you. Oh, man.
Just search the hashtag on Twitter. There's only one of them. It's my tweet. And that's where you'll see it. Well, it was great. It was actually, you know what? We could read this. Or should I save it till next episode?
Go for it. Just do it.
Sorry, I had a bunch of notifications here. So, I was replying to a tweet from Matt Miller, who is the lead draft writer for Bleacher Report for NFL Draft.
Okay.
And he had asked if you could only drink one beer for the rest of your life.
Oh, I saw this.
What would it be? Oh, you saw my response to that?
I did. I was actually surprised by that, but I saw it.
It was a tough choice, but I felt like Heady Topper was going to be too cliche of an answer, so I wanted to pick something slightly different.
Of the two, I think I might pick Focal Band.
I was thinking that as well, but I didn't want to go either one, because I scrolled down and other people put Heady Topper.
Low visibility would be like the one that I would just say.
So I went with Victory Golden Monkey, which you know I love, you enjoy it as well. Did you see the whole conversation?
Man, I'm going to pull you aside real quick. Victory Golden Monkey was one of the first beers that I got real drunk off in Hoboken.
Which is why this whole conversation started, which is why you're going to enjoy this. Did you see the whole conversation I had?
No.
So I said Victory Golden Monkey. So someone else replied to me and said, I got so sick off this beer once. Absolutely.
Was it me?
Absolutely delicious, but it's so strong you don't notice you've had too many until it's too late.
Yeah.
And I said, I think we all had a night like that with this beer. I didn't get sick, but I woke up under a chair and I don't remember how I got there.
Oh, that's the one?
Yes.
Oh,
I said, it's a hell of a beer. And he said, let's just say if I had been caught by the staff, that beer would have gotten me banned from Disney World. And so I said, well, that's it. We got to get How I Got Banned from Disney going. Hashtag How I Get Banned from Disney. He laughed and he goes, well, as a former employee of a Walt Disney World Resort Hotel, I'd rather not participate in that one. So no, that's not fun. It's a great conversation with someone I've never met before or ever spoken to online before. Sometimes the internet is good. Not often, but sometimes.
With that being said,
should we get to the movie?
We got to wrap it. Let's get to the movie, shall we?
Yes.
Now, our Flick of the Week. Hello, and welcome to episode 95 of Flix in a Six. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Costanzo. With me, forever and always, the man, the myth, the major derailment, Alessandro Raelsi. Say hello, Al.
Major derailments, reporting for duty, sir.
Oh my god, on this week's episode, we're going to keep it light with the news and nuggets. We really want to get to our Flick of the Week. It's something that we've been wanting to do for a very long time.
Would you say that we've been teasing it for a long time?
We've been teasing it for quite some time. Al's been very excited about it. I'm excited about it. But
actions speak louder than words.
It pales in comparison to how excited Al is. Our Flick of the Week is Cloud Atlas.
It's about damn time.
But before we get into our Flick of the Week, what are we drinking?
We decided...
Clang, clang, clang goes the trolley.
Do something kind of cool. Pair one of our favorite breweries with one of our favorite movies.
I was going to try to jump in and complete the sentence for you and say pair one of our favorite breweries with one of our favorite beers.
I mean, technically, but also, what? Although this is one of your favorite beers. We're kind of cheating here.
I'm a fan.
Both of us have had this one before. But I had it in the fridge and I figured Newburgh, Cloud Atlas, we're on Cloud 9. I thought you were gonna give me a disgust type sound.
I'm just looking at you.
I thought you were gonna give me ugh.
It's fine. It's fine. I'll allow it. Actually, I agree.
That's gonna be the title of this episode.
I got you on this one, by the way.
It's gonna be the title of this episode is we arrive on Cloud 9 in Newburgh.
I like it.
Or something like
Cloud
that.
Atlas.
But yes. Yeah. So this is the juicy Nano Boss Pale Ale.
Juicy's where it's at, man.
Because this is
Juicy Hazies.
One of their main lines of beers, unlike some of the other ones we've done in the past, recent past even. Nano Boss Pale Ale is the junior member of our Boss, in quotation marks, family. Junior in ABV, but certainly not in flavor. I'm going to disagree with you on that one. Supremely sessionable, Nano Boss has a lighter body that allows the fresh hop flavors to take center stage. And do they ever impress? Shining boldly through are bright, juicy, and tropical hop notes, making Nano Boss a hop lover's dream.
I love the aroma of this beer.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you love my delivery in that.
That was pretty good too.
Cheers.
It almost... Yeah, cheers. Let's get into it.
It's almost like a palate cleanser considering
This is
some of the things I've drank recently.
Al, I got you here.
Okay.
This is 2 thumbs up beer for me.
2 whole thumbs up?
2 whole thumbs.
Oh yeah, I was not ready for that.
Yeah, I didn't think you were.
It's so... I mean, it's a good, solid beer. But considering some other Newburgh beers, even some of recent vintage, it seems to be a little bit left in the dust.
I like it.
It's a very solid beer. It's not unique.
It's not unique, but it's
not like a Ruby Soho.
We're gonna do that again?
No, I was gonna leave that up to you. That seems to be your thing.
Yeah. Oh my god, my beer foam is dragon.
That is kind of like.
I like this though. It's so nice. It's so pleasant. You know what it is? This is the Newburgh of low visibilities.
What?
Low visibility is the beer that I love from Magnify. This is the Newburgh version of that.
Oh, okay. I wasn't understanding
very solid
the
pale ale,
correlation, but that makes sense. Okay.
It's very tasty.
I've always loved the Boss series.
Very tight,
can
very
art.
sensual.
He's tight like a tiger. I've always enjoyed the Boss series.
Oh yeah, the robots.
Yeah, and it's got the little junior on it.
So great with the bowler cap.
Yeah, little bowler hat.
It's fantastic.
It's good.
They do a great job with their. How do they do on the? Oh, okay, you could read that. Proudly brewed.
Oh, this one I can actually read because it's like green
better.
instead of like pale yellow. Yeah, proudly brewed and canned by Newburgh Brewing Company, Newburgh, New York, USA.
Cans.
4. You always get me with that one. 4.5% alcohol by volume.
You know what it is? It's such a good. It's
cans.
It's everything. It is. It represents speed as a whole. I think.
Now, would you say that it's not the first or second longest recurring joke in our show? That's probably something more along the lines of a Titan. Or a dark, ominous tone.
I think that...
Would this be number 3?
This is number 3, and the reason it's you don't bring it up.
I don't.
I do it and destroy you.
But I enjoy it every time. It's your only counter to what I do to you during the intro on a weekly basis.
Anytime I want to just throw the show into disarray.
General disarray. My superior.
General disarray. Reporting for duty. Oh, Lord. You said you have a... So, you might have noticed that I didn't mention what was in our news and nuggets at the top of the show.
Yeah.
And the reason I did not is that Al told me he has a little something he wanted to do. He didn't want to tell me what it was. So
I didn't.
I'm gonna let you take
We
it
figured
away.
we would take the notes section a little bit light on this episode before we get to the
the
long-awaited
big deal
movie.
that we got going.
And we are wont to get to a 2.5-hour episode.
Did you say we are want?
Yeah, I use that correctly. It's a little bit archaic, but yeah. No.
I have a question for you.
We are wont with an O.
On the topic of derailments.
Wild tangents?
What all... I think I might have brought this up before.
Okay.
So stop me if I have.
Gladly.
What all? You ever heard that?
Yes.
Is that right?
Maybe. Also, archaic, definitely UK?
No, so many people say it here.
Huh.
And it's one of those things where I never hear the end of the sentence because my brain shuts down at what all and then goes into this random rabbit hole of is that how you say it? Am I wrong?
It's a distant cousin to you all?
No. It's just a distant cousin to what is. So, like, what all is included with the proposal? Like, that's, like, how I've heard people use it. That's, like, an example.
Maybe it's a industry-specific term.
It's not. It has nothing to do... That's the thing. It has nothing to do with the industry. And this is, like, one of those weird things where it's just, like, people... I had never heard of it. And by never heard of it, I mean, it's very possible that I have heard it, and it's just I've never been aware. And, like, you know when you're aware of something and then all of a sudden you hear it everywhere? Mm-hmm. I hadn't... In my mind, I had never heard anyone use that phrase before until I started working for the company in D.C. It was 4 years of me going 4 years of meetings of people saying what all, and me thinking to myself, is that right? To going, maybe it's a DC thing, maybe it's a south of...
It's definitely not a Marvel thing.
South of the tri-state area thing. That's definitely not a Marvel thing. But then I started working for this company in San Francisco, and they're saying it. And I'm like, son of a bitch. And it's like, is the Northeast wrong? Like, what?
I'm wondering if it's an industry-specific thing.
I don't think it is.
I don't know.
I don't understand how it would be related to the industry.
I don't either. But that's...
I asked an English teacher, and she was like, I don't
know. Common factor in this. That's why I was saying it. But I am correct, even though it is a bit more of an archaic form, I think.
What did you say again? I don't even remember.
We are wont.
We are wont?
To do this, but it's want with an O.
You can get the hell out of my house.
It's going to be awkward because I'm going to have to sleep shirtless in my car.
This is how I get rid of you for good. The
Making
cops
me
come by.
sleep
Sir,
shirtless.
sir.
I'm in the driveway. I can
You're
do what the hell I
trespassing.
want.
I don't know who this man is.
I'm just going to go look at Saturn in this.
I
in my
can do what I
telescope.
want. ONT.
Just going to look at Saturn in a telescope. Shirtless.
Shirtless. Other things that we've done tonight.
Other things we've done. Well, the things I've done tonight.
yeah.
The shirtless part of it.
That's true.
We both looked at Saturn.
I had a shirt.
And Jupiter.
Jupiter was crazy. Looking at a planet through a telescope, thing I did not realize.
It moves.
Seeing it moving so quickly, very disorienting.
Yes.
I'm gonna leave it at that. So let's go on with what is the secret story? What have we? I think you started and I completely derailed you, and I don't even remember what you're talking about.
No, it was general disarray.
General disarray. Reporting for duty.
We haven't discussed at all yet, but the internet has been on fire with takes on this new movie, Midsommar.
Oh yeah.
I feel like we should discuss that in some way.
Okay. What I can tell you about it is that my super ghetto Uber driver was very much interested in seeing this movie.
Okay.
So I was coming home from the airport.
It's funny because the entire cast is white.
And it's a horror movie.
No, actually, that's...
And she was like, I want to see this thing. And she was talking about it for a good 20 minutes. The Uber ride lasted about 70 minutes. The distance that we traveled...
Did they ask you to get out of it often?
Oh my god, that was such bullshit.
Did they ask you to find a different route?
Should have been covered in about 35 minutes.
It took you twice as long.
Yeah. So, that wasn't great.
I
mean, she was fine. She was very talkative, very nice. Maybe said some political things I didn't agree with, but then you have to do the nod and smile, and you're like, man, is this a secret camera show? Like, it was bad. Like, there were some things that were said that I was like, oh my god. But
this is while you were in San Francisco?
This was on my way to my home.
Back from the airport.
Yeah. So, we got into, there was 20 minutes on movies, and I was like, oh, thank God. Like, I could,
my wheelhouse.
Yeah, like, we can go from here. And she was talking about a previous person that she had picked up. My Uber driver was previously a pole dancer, and that's information that I know now.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's funny because what I was thinking of is when you're talking about Uber drivers and services being rendered and movies and a podcast, I was thinking, is our guy from Topgolf still listening?
Did you just flex both of your pecs?
They kind of happen on their own.
either I have a so our listenership, I didn't share this with you, has doubled.
Oh.
And
that's good news. Oh, wait, there's new people listening. We should probably tell them that I record shirtless every week. And that this is the first one.
Why does he know what's going on with his pecs?
This is the first time. Well, so we typically do it via Skype. So you might have caught my pecs in that. But we're recording face to face. It's the first time since Easter that we record face to face. Which is very much off of our original plan.
No, it's not.
No?
Endgame.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was different because we had Brian.
Yeah. Did you have your shirt off?
I think I made it the first few minutes, and then Brian said something, and I took it off.
Oh, right.
Which is weird.
He wanted the whole experience.
Rightfully so. If you're going to be a part of it, you might as well be a part of it. But is our Topgolf guy still listening?
I would assume so. I think his whole troop is.
I hope so too, and maybe that would explain.
That guy was awesome.
He was. If you're still listening, I don't remember his name.
Sean, I think.
I don't know. Please reach out to us.
Yeah.
On Twitter, an email,
flixin6@spinjune.com,
or the Spin Tune on Twitter. Whatever you want to do, whatever's easier for you.
You
reach out. Tell us if you're still listening, or anyone from the troop is listening.
Curious.
Any of you guys can reach out to us.
There was a large spike in listenership, and I don't
not one episode.
It wasn't. No, it was it's like a consistent one, Good. And I don't know at the point at which it started. I don't know what happened.
I hope they've been enjoying this episode and will continue to.
I hope so as well. So the Uber driver, we had a conversation, and I know I'm now derailing you entirely, but I think you're gonna appreciate this. So
I consider it more general this way,
and I mean she had very ghetto terminology that she was using, And to the point where like there were things that you said where I was like, I don't even know what you mean. I have no idea.
If you haven't been able to tell by now, we are two white suburban people.
She is making that mad goo wop. I don't know what that means.
Money.
I assumed that's what it meant.
I don't think I've ever heard it pronounced. I thought it was just guap.
It was goo wop.
Oh,
specific.
It's a new pronunciation.
And then she asked me what I did for a living, and then she said, "Oh no."
By the way, this conversation is getting whiter and whiter.
You making that mad goo wop? And I said, maybe
this is approaching Mayo levels of white.
I do not know what you're talking about, but
you do realize that, right?
Yeah. It was interesting. She told me all about how she bought her house, all about how she was trying to scam her landlord by using her apartment as an Airbnb.
Don't blow up her spot on our fucking show, man.
It's okay. I'm not saying any names.
That's a good point.
All about this crazy club that we passed by in Newark when we were driving back.
Sounds like fun.
Which she kept saying that I should go to, like, you know, that there's a lot of very attractive women there. And she's like, you're not married, and I was like, I absolutely am.
Funny that you mentioned.
Yeah,
but yes.
I was like, thank you for asking, because this conversation is just weird. She was a good driver, but terrifying at the same time. She was very ballsy when it came to the
confident, assertive.
She was a confident driver. Yeah. She was all like that. Right. I mean, there's not much you can do in the situation that we were in. The ride should have been 80 minutes, and it was 75. And when you see the situation we were in with the traffic that we were in, it's pretty impressive. So. It was weird.
So it was weird. Midsommar.
She's well, hang on. She's making she was in a pretty serious car accident.
Not when you were there.
No, during the hit by a semi.
Jeez.
During the ride, she pulled up her X-rays of her back and neck, which were I'm pretty sure broken and like completely just wrecked. And so she's all about. She's gonna be making mad goo up.
Yeah, go up
off that. And
it always reminds me of the 40-year-old virgin when he's living off of getting hit by that mail truck in Canada.
Yep, absolutely, 100%. So to tighten the story up, one of the topics that we got on was she wanted to see this crazy
if you
horror
movie. Beer, I'll help you.
One more sip.
I know you like your Nana. I'm going to take it all.
You can have some. You can have some.
This is great. I'm going to get sick from this.
So yes, she was like super, super high on that movie. Like she's like really wanted to see it. And was talking about a previous client that was like really selling her on it, and it was like, I'm going to see it again. And then we got into this whole thing about how seeing a movie twice means it's really good. And I was like, boy, do I have stories for you.
Have I told you that I've gone to see The Last Jedi 5 times?
I own the 89 Batman film
5 times.
6 next month.
I was so close. Yeah, getting back to Midsommar, though.
Yeah.
What do you know about the movie? So I've read a lot of stuff about it.
I believe it's like I don't know if it's a couple or some friends going on like a kind of getting away from society a little bit, like for like almost like a vacation, but more of like a retreat style type thing, and then getting sucked into some sort of culty horror situation.
I feel like you're not quite there.
Okay.
I think it was this guy and his buddies who have a friend from Sweden. We're gonna go to the place where he grew up in Sweden, where they're like,
this is not remotely what I just said.
A serious hippie like commune in Sweden where they do these like pagan rituals.
Okay.
And it's in this area of Sweden that's like so far north that it's like at that time of year it's sun like every hour of the day.
Yeah.
And this girl is dating one of the guys, and she joins on to their trip, and they find out that this ritualistic pagan society does fucked up ritual type stuff.
Great.
So it's a full-blown horror movie. I mean, I'm looking at the thumbnail from one of the scenes, and it looks pretty horrifying.
Yeah, I've seen that. A lot of screaming.
I've read a lot of stuff about it. Most of it relatively spoiler-free. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how much you know about it.
I've just heard pretty scary, maybe worth a watch.
Well, what I found interesting about it is that the whole movie takes place in sunlight.
That is intriguing.
It's a cool like central
I didn't know
conceit.
that.
Yeah, because the whole thing is like in this area, like Sweden is like it's like those places in Alaska where like during the summer it's like basically like sun every day, like all day. Yeah. It's like 1 hour of like night like per day or whatever, or something like that. So the whole movie takes place in the sun. Which for a horror movie, that's a kind of a cool thing to work around. Yeah. That's like a cool concept.
It means you're not working with the jumps.
Yeah.
You're working with something much deeper.
It's the same guy, Ari Aster, who did Hereditary last year.
Yeah.
Which was like a big... I don't know how much you know about that movie. Did you see that movie?
No.
I didn't see it, but I was...
How strong is the spear?
Only 4.5.
Really?
Yeah.
Feeling it.
Layered effect.
It is. Maybe it's possibly.
I didn't see the movie, but I've read an actual full like synopsis of that one. I was like, oh shit, this was totally not even what like the trailers were putting you on to. Like that movie, just go read the Wikipedia like synopsis. That movie is batshit fucking crazy.
Hereditary?
Yes.
Okay.
This one sounds like it's still crazy, but not quite to that same level, maybe. But it's just an interesting concept, this whole thing, and it's like. Parts of it seem like it's the obvious thing, right? Where the ugly Americans getting sucked into this, European pagan culture who's doing this other thing, and they're fish out of water, and it's not great.
It's do you want to see it? Are we doing it?
I'm not a big horror guy. You're not. You maybe a little bit bigger, but
I have a weird situation. I have like this. It's almost like it's an unhealthy. Go for it. It's an unhealthy like. I want to, knowing that it's going to have an effect on me that I don't love.
I mean, that's how I kind of go, too. I feel like the only things that are, like, horror that I enjoy are things that I don't necessarily realize are going to be horror, and then, like, they are, and it's, like something like Annihilation. Where I didn't realize it was going to be a horror movie.
Yeah.
Saw it and was like, oh, this is the most terrifying thing I've ever seen. And remember, speaking of sunlight, we watched that at 11 a.m.
That's true.
And then spent an entire day, and then your cats terrorized me at night.
That is true. That movie was fucked up.
We were just talking about that last night.
That movie was available. It was available on the plane, and it was also and A Quiet Place was also available.
Well, but we were talking about Alex Garland stuff with The Beach 2. Prequel, sequel. 20 years.
The pre-sequel.
20 years later, prequel.
Today.
Yeah, and then after all that, you're like, oh, I want to see the Garland ones.
Weirdly drawn to certain horror movies. Like, I always found, and you know what it is? It's a credit to with horror movies. Well,
credit to that burp. Yeah,
not all of them. Yeah, sorry, not all of them, but a credit to like for Halloween, the movie.
Yeah, for example, wanted to do that. We didn't get to.
It's always a credit. It's the music. The Halloween score is in the Hall of Fame. It is up there. It is with a Hans Zimmer score for anything because they're all fantastic. It's with the Star Wars main John Williams score. Like it's solid. It's so good. There's something very special about it, and this could be. I don't believe that it's just for me. It could be just for me, but like I was not a huge fan of them. So like the fact that I'm so drawn to it and like I have this fond memory of it. Even though I know like that it relates to like a time where I was terrified, it's something very special. And I never got to see that remake. What was it? It was a sequel. Did I see that?
I thought you did, but I didn't. We didn't do it for the episode. I think you did a version of like what I did for The Leftovers yesterday, or what I did for Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Now I'm all. See, here's the problem. I may have watched it. But now I'm all screwed up because they're also all over the place and there's so many of them and it's been restarted so many times.
I feel pretty confident that you did it and like you gave me like a spoiler-free review on the show.
I think I may have given you a review of watching the first one again. because I finally watched the first one this Halloween. Like, through as an adult. And it was bad. It wasn't a good movie. Which is very unfortunate. It's horrible.
Just didn't hold up?
No, God, no. Not at all. It's not even... It is... I was almost bored to the point where I almost fell asleep during a horror movie. Like, that's you fucked up, like, if that's the case. And I understand that at that time it might have been something special, but when we were watching it, Kim and I were like, man, this isn't good. Like, it doesn't hold up. But
conversely, as we alluded to last summer, Jaws still holds up.
Absolutely. And that was the first time because that was the first time I had seen that, and I was very much sold on that. I do have to watch that new version of it if I didn't. Now, see, that's the thing. Now I'm like all screwed up. I'm gonna have to start watching it and see and try to remember if I've seen it or not. I've gotten to that point where I've seen and owned too many movies that I don't know what I have seen and own. I've been in Best Buy and I was like, damn, that's a great price, but do I have it?
You have to keep like a master picture.
Yeah, I think so.
Insult every time you
take a snapshot so I can zoom in a little bit. Absolutely.
We should probably get into the movie.
Should we do it?
Yeah.
It's time?
Yeah.
You don't want to waste too much time.
No.
Let's get into our Flick of the Week. Hello, and welcome to episode 95 of Flix in a Six. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Costanzo, with me, forever and always, the man, the myth, the rabid fan base, Alessandro Barelsi. Say hello, Al. On this week's episode, we're not going to spend too much time lingering on the news and nuggets. We're going to give you, I think we have like one or two real quick ones we're going to do that because we have something very special to get to.
Yeah.
That is the episode that you've all been waiting for.
The one that I personally have been waiting for.
That Al's been waiting to discuss for...
Since I've seen it.
Yeah.
Since I've seen it prior to the show
Since you've seen it. And that movie is Cloud Atlas. But before we get into that, before we start that epic journey down that 3-hour road, what are we drinking?
Well, we thought it would be kind of cool to do one of our favorite breweries for one of our favorite movies. And totally normal transition. Newburgh Brewing Company has done so many beers that we love, and we've done so many of their beers that we love.
That's fair. Yes, we have.
So this one I've been holding on for a little bit longer than I would have anticipated, but I made sure to snag one because these things sell out like when they come out. Okay. Once a year. It's their Christmas beer.
Oh.
It's the Angry Egbert.
Is this is it this beer every Christmas?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So it's the same one.
It's also got that terrible face.
Oh my God!
Every time.
Mr. White.
You're Mr. 10 Below. So for those of you who don't know, I think it's only a Hudson Valley thing. Egbert is a Christmas thing.
Oh, this is like a legit Christmas related.
Yes. Oh. I think it's only a Hudson Valley thing.
Now, how Christmas related? Like a Star Wars episode Christmas related, or
with a shoehorn that in there. For those of you guys who haven't listened to our Christmas episode this year, it's the untitled episode. It is the worst thing that we've ever done.
It's travesty,
or the best thing we've ever done.
However you want to look at it, it's all a matter of perspective.
People might have said that about this episode. This beer is a New England IPA brewed with spruce needles. Let me tell you about spruce needles.
Hang on, I knew none of this information going in. Now I'm very excited.
My favorite beer that they've ever done, that used to be a seasonal that they did every. Oh, sorry.
No, it's all.
Let me just talk and drink at the same time, I guess. So my favorite thing. My favorite beer that Newburgh has ever done was a seasonal beer that they did for multiple years in the holiday season, and I don't think they did it this past year. I was very disappointed by it. Was their Winter Spruce Porter. Okay. I think it made it onto. Remember early on in the Spin Tune we did our favorite beers list. I think it's on that for me.
We should go back and look at that. I feel like I've heard you talk about it before. At the very least,
because that's like 2 years ago that we did that.
Man,
I fucking love that.
How long have we been doing this?
I mean, this show has been going on for like 2.5 years.
Nice.
And correspondingly, the the website.
I would say you could divide the episodes by 52, but yeah, we've fucked up here and there.
Well, considering we've been doing it for over 2 years and we still haven't hit episode 100.
Hey man,
guys, we were missed last week. We get it. Well, sorry, 2 weeks ago, I guess. It's so weird because we're talking about last
unless
week,
I released the previous episode on time, we have missed 2 weeks.
I'm hoping you're going to release it tomorrow this week.
I should be able to do it tomorrow.
Tomorrow this week. The one that we recorded last week.
Tomorrow this week, which will be 7 days ago from the time this one airs.
Yes.
What?
New England IPA brewed with spruce needles. Sorry, this text is really fucking small.
For a spruce needle. Where? Let me see that.
I am much thicker than a spruce needle. During the holiday season, here in the Hudson Valley, we favor the company of Egbert, the talking egg, ruling his kingdom while seated upon a throne inside Devitt's nursery and supply. Egbert is happy 99.9% of the time. Just don't make him mad. You wouldn't like him when he's mad.
What?
Because he knows your name. Egbert, the talking egg. Because Santa Claus is for amateurs.
What the hell? What is Egbert?
It's that guy.
I understand that it's this creep show on the side of the camera.
It's kind of like Humpty Dumpty, like being like the big egg thing.
Yeah.
And it sits on a throne, and like they bring kids up to it, and it talks to them, and they tell what they want.
You tell Egbert what you want for Christmas?
I think so.
Where did this come from?
I've never actually. It's from Devitt's. It's a huge, like, home like supply thing for like the 50,000 pounds of rocks we've bought for the last 2 years around my house. Mm-hmm. Bought it all from Devitt's, and they do the Egbert thing, so it's like a collaboration between Devitt's and Newburgh.
So weird.
It's very, very, very weird.
With that being said, I'd like to try this beer. Cheers. Egbert.
That's an IPA.
Ow. 2 thumbs up.
Two whole thumbs?
2 thumbs up. Now, this might be the booze talking. But
booze can't talk.
Prior to this episode, we had a few.
I guess you could say that.
It's
from a certain point of view.
I don't think... nice. I don't think... at this point, I'm pretty sure my ratings are going to be all over the goddamn place. But.
Yeah, that sounds right. I'm going to be honest. I'm disappointed with the spruce content of this beer.
Really?
It's not nearly as sprucey as the Winter Spruce Porter.
I think it was more spruce than this. I would not like it.
I wish I could find a crowler. You remember the crowler?
Oh, the crowler.
Yes.
Yeah.
We did that was that the Dunkirk episode? Pretty sure it was Dunkirk.
I think it was.
The crowler of Newburgh beer. If I could find a crowler of Spruce Porter. I was going to say it's a delight, but it doesn't even deserve to be sold.
Do they have this on tap when it comes around, or they only can it for...
I think it's only can, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, okay. That's pretty good. I mean, in its defense, it tastes like it may be a little stale, but I mean, it's a Christmas beer.
Would you say that you would be able to accurately describe what a stale beer would taste like?
And it's the flavors don't feel 100%. Okay. And
I mean, it's definitely been sitting in my fridge for 6 months. So.
Exactly. I mean, we're talking Christmas in July over here, and it's
literally.
It's I feel like it feels like I could see where the flavor would be coming from, but it's not all there.
You can see the pockets of flavor.
I can see the pockets. I see a man. I can see him through the trees.
Sorry, we're recording face to face, which we don't get to do as often as we'd like.
It's not often. It's fun. I really appreciate it this way, though.
Just barely suppressing a huge burp, which I would typically hide behind my mute button, and
you can't do it.
No, it's awkward when that sort of thing happens. I'm glad that hasn't happened yet this episode.
I've had to cough a few times, and I've stopped myself, and if I'm sure from Al's perspective, it looks like my body is just shutting down. Because have you ever tried to stifle a cough? It's not pretty.
No, I wouldn't think so.
Yeah, okay. I like this a lot.
No, it's a very solid beer.
I'm a fan.
Well, actually, I mean, not as solid as some other beers.
All you're doing is proving my point that I need to increase the rating system. It's got to be more. I need more options, and I'm pretty much willing to even enter into the decimal space.
Well, it seems like you didn't like the bloody stump thumb.
No, I didn't like that at all. But now I'm thinking, like, could I fit these ones that I've had into a single digit 10 scale?
I think considering the amount of work, I've even worked with the 5 with the decimal points on. Oh, sorry, not even full decimals, just quarter pieces in 1/4 portion.
1/4 portion.
The quarter rating scale in amongst 5 stars on Untapped for our show.
Yeah.
FLI 6 on Untapped if you guys want to follow us.
That's right.
We have a pretty... I think we're up to 90 beers on that.
You know what it is? I don't really know what I'm doing, right? Because realistically, it's very clear to me how the movie scale relates to a 10-point system. Mm-hmm. There's no reason that the beer scale can't relate directly to that. I've been wrong. I have been wrong about that. I just wanted to give you the thumb up. You know what it is? I think this all came down to Untapped and it being a 5-star system and me not liking the...
Well, you told me you actively were going to choose to only use whole numbers, which is still the same thing as the thumb scale.
Exactly, and that's where it all came down.
But basically, because we typically... I mean, listen, we cherry pick a little bit what we're doing.
Yeah.
We typically find things we think we're going to enjoy.
Yeah.
It doesn't always match up to that. Sometimes we don't enjoy it, even though... Sometimes we think it's going to be a good time, and it's not.
And so, sometimes we think it's going to be a good time, and then it turns out to be good time. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I need to adjust. I need to expand the scale.
Yeah,
that's fair. I'm not sold that I need to do it for the movies.
No, but for the beers, I think we need a more descriptive...
Can I do 10 points? Do you think I can get away with 10 points? I think I can get away with a single integer 10-point system for the beers.
A single integer 10-point system is the same thing as a 5-point system that has halves. Yeah. So either one, whichever one you want to do.
I just don't want to get into I don't want to get into a 100-point scale. I don't want to get into...
And you don't want to get into like 5 1/4
exactly.
or like 4 whatever. I can understand that. You want it to be wholes or halves, and that's fine. Okay. Or holes with the 10-point scale, it's the same thing.
Okay, so we'll do all right.
You can still stick with the thumbs. 10 points. It should be 1.5 thumbs.
If this was a 10-point... If this was a 10-point... I think we were talking about like... And I'm doing am I doing points?
You can do points, whatever you want to do.
I don't know what to do, man. I really don't know what to be. The thing is, I want to say that it's like a 6.5 to a 7.
Okay.
But for some reason, 6.5 doesn't sound like it fully encapsulates how I feel about this.
Well, it's hard because like the most average beer would be 5, and you and I generally are more generous in our ratings than we probably could be. It's something I've struggled with Untapped. There's only a couple of things that have like a sub 3 rating on the Untapped. But again, we cherry pick. I pick things that I think we're gonna like. Every once in a while, we find things we don't like very much, like you and some of the Cricket Hill.
6.5.
Okay, that seems fair.
So I'm going. I feel weirdly relieved that I've decided to do that.
The funny thing is you started with this being a 2 thumbs up rating.
No, did I?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. 2.
And 6.5 would be less than 1 thumb.
But it's all a matter of perspective, man.
From a certain point of view.
From a certain point of view, no, it's 6.5 is where we're at. I'm gonna be honest with you. It also degraded with a few sips. I gave my rating a little too fast.
Yeah, that's why I was surprised that you, because like it's perfectly fine.
The first sip was very nice.
It's perfectly fine.
It's been good since then. It's not been great.
Yeah.
So, all right. What do we got in the news world? We have
Who needs news? Let's just go right to the movie.
Go right to the movie?
Yeah.
Fuck it, let's do it. We can always do the news next week.
Yeah.
Now for our flick of the week. Hello, and welcome to episode 95 of Flix in a 6. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Costanzo, with me forever and always, the man, the myth, the wild tangent, Alessandro Bielsi. Say hello, Al.
How's that for an ending that's flat and inane beyond belief?
Jesus Christ. On this week's episode, we're going to keep it light on the news and nuggets. We got something very special to talk about. Something that we've been very excited to talk about for quite some time.
Basically since the inception of the show.
It's near and dear to your heart.
I'd like to think it's near and dear to our hearts.
It's near and dear to our hearts. I haven't experienced it at the level... We're talking about Cloud Atlas. The flick of the week is Cloud Atlas.
Well, it's
about goddamn time.
Let's be
and
honest.
that's on me.
You've seen it 1 to 2 times. And I have seen it like 10 times.
I've seen it upwards of 1 time.
It's amongst my top 3 favorite movies of all time.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's about time. It's about time we get to it for you.
The rarefied top 3.
Fans, this episode's for Al. But before we get into our flick of the week, what are we drinking?
Well, this beer is for both of us. Because I love this brewery. And you, thankfully, love this brewery.
It's gotta be Newburgh.
It's Newburgh.
Yeah, it is.
It's the semi-official show beer from, like, the first episode.
Yeah. What did we do? What was the first beer we did?
The first one, we had Jessica early
Remember
on.
when we tried to do...
sounded a little weirder than it should have. We had Jessica.
Do you remember when we started the show?
Oh, my God.
And we were like, we'll probably do, like, 3 movies an episode.
And it became 3 whole episodes.
It became 3 entire... Yeah, and then it was like...
It's great because we did a couple of pre-show beers... And then we did a beer each. And by the time we did part 3...
We were trash.
Which was Rogue One. You were trash.
I was trash. My tolerance is not very high.
I'm not going to... like. I was buzzed too.
Sure.
But I remember listening back to it like a month after we did it. Just to say, like what did we sound like at the very beginning? Like as we're getting... There was alcohol consumed.
Absolutely.
It was very obvious from listening to that episode.
Clear.
It was funny.
I
don't know what that would sound
funny,
like now.
But it's not what the show deserved.
It was what we needed, but it's not what we deserved.
It's funny to see the evolution of the show and how it came from like our general idea of what it should be.
From humble beginnings.
To very humble ends. But no, from what we originally, we were legit. We were like, oh, we could probably, because you and me, we talk.
We were like, oh yeah, we'll talk for an hour or so, and we'll have these 3 movies, and we're talking about it. And then we talked about one movie, and we're like, let's pause real quick before we get going on. And it's like, oh, that's been like an hour 10.
Yeah, and then it became very clear that each episode is probably a movie. But then I don't remember, when did the news and nuggets come in?
I don't know. I remember saying to you, though, in our planning before we started the show, like weeks before we started the show, we got into it, I said to you, do you really think we can talk about a couple of movies for that long?
What a joke!
It's funny that that we find ourselves now where we routinely do 2-hour episodes.
Can you not talk about a movie for that long?
Yeah, and we included the news and nuggets. And to your point, I don't know exactly when we started. It wasn't that early on.
The news and nuggets, I believe, came out of it like if it was a fairly organic thing, because it was like we realized that it was bumpy. The show was a little rocky. We didn't know how to get into it. So the news and nuggets was
it fit perfectly in the way that our weekly conversations go.
Absolutely.
Outside of the show.
So it's like, why not just record that piece of it?
Yeah.
And it's like we would naturally get into the conversation, which if you listen back, I believe like the news and nuggets kind of like opens us up, because I don't know how you feel. Personally, I'm a fairly anxious person. Getting the conversation going is a little difficult. So like the news and nuggets helps. It's like a palate cleanser. Then we get into it, and then we start talking about the movie. And when we get to the movie,
I mean, I'm like that.
I'm excited.
I mean, I am in the same way with you with people I don't know. When we're doing our show,
oh yeah,
there's no anxiety with that.
That's true. At this point, I don't even acknowledge the microphone, which is probably clear from some of our recordings.
Yes.
But here we are, at last. And we're drinking this beer. We have not actually tried it yet, so let's give it a
cheers.
Cheers. Have you had this one before?
Yes. And I say that because there was only 2 of 4 in my fridge.
It's got that. That's got that, like that hoppy, that very floral hoppy flavor.
Well, it's an IPA. It's from the Boss series, but this is one of the more limited releases. This is the New York Boss. Mm-hmm. It's 7% alcohol by volume.
Jesus Christ, what are you trying to do to me? You feed me drinks before the show. You feed me drinks during the show. They're all higher. Everything's above 5. Mm-hmm. Right?
Nano was only 4.
Nano was the one that I felt immediately.
It was just beyond the tipping point.
Yeah, anyway.
It's an IPA brewed collaboratively with Whole Foods Market, made using 100% New York State grown ingredients. It's not just Boss; It's New York boss.
It's very strong flavor. I like it.
In keeping with the boss moniker, we have some robots.
Oh man.
The can art, as you know, we enjoy. This is it throws off some like roly-poly-oly vibes. Do you remember that show?
I wish I didn't, but yeah, I do.
Well, because the thing is, you are too old for that show.
Yeah, I know. That's why I say that.
Because I was too old for that show, but it was perfect for my brother's wheelhouse.
Yeah.
And I lived in the same house, so I saw the show. You know what I mean?
The thing is, I don't know why I know it. Maybe it's like a friend's sibling.
Which is why I asked it, because you were too old for it.
Oh, absolutely. I was too old for a lot of the shows that I remember. I was also too young for a lot of the shows that I remember, which is very strange.
So, I mean, that always happens.
Yeah.
Like, there's always... Well, you were more advanced than I was, which meant the times that I spent with you as a kid meant that I got to jump ahead.
Are you telling me that I'm your bad influence?
When I was young, yeah.
I love it.
I watched Austin Powers when I was like 8 years old.
Yeah, that's on us.
It is. And you shouldn't have been watching it either at 10 or 11 years old.
I mean, to be clear, like, we didn't get it.
But you were still watching it.
That's true.
The
That's true. I think my...
thing is, for all the jokes you didn't get...
appreciated how much that I was into the movies at that point.
Yeah.
Where the things that I would harp on that I would like... I actually, like, at that age, at that stage in my life, I was already like... Well, like, these performances are hysterical. Like, this person is very funny. It doesn't matter what the content
Like,
is.
I remember being 10 years old and going to your house, and we're watching Saturday Night Live, and it's like, shouldn't be watching that one.
Do you remember, did you ever watch Are You Afraid of the Dark with us?
I don't know if I ever watched it with you, but I did watch it when I was a kid.
We used to watch, we used to be super into Are You Afraid of the Dark. Every Saturday, we had a pretty it's not common. We had a pretty, like, ritualistic week. Like, it was, like, school week, and then on Saturday, we would go to Mom and Pop-Ups, which was Al and I's grandparents, but we were close. We lived close at the time, so we would see them every weekend.
Most of my... I remember your house, but most of my memories is when you guys had already moved in with them.
You remember Hewitt? You remember the house I lived in before
Very little.
our grandparents?
Very little of it, but yes.
Damn! That's pretty crazy.
I remember going over there like a couple of times. You remember you guys had the above ground pool in the back.
That's right.
This is a round pool?
Oval.
Oval? Well, you had the round one at Mom's house.
It was oval as well.
No, that one's round, isn't it?
No. It's fine.
Okay.
It's fine.
I don't know. I don't know why I thought it was round, but anyway, I remember you having the above ground pool. I remember that it was like multi-level, like, right? Like, it's like
the deck was like there was like 3 levels of deck.
Yeah, and like the house, like it was like,
which my dad built all of that, and I'm fairly certain that all of it's illegal. Like, because like there's no permits involved. He just built it all.
Good thing I've never given our actual address.
That's fine.
Most of the stuff that we've done is not, because we built it ourselves. Like, it's all structurally sound. What the hell? We worked on it pretty hard.
Good enough.
If it can hold me standing on it, it's fine. And I've lost 30 pounds.
Oh, you're looking good, man.
Thanks, man.
Let's give a shout out to Al.
I've been shirtless this whole time.
You have been. Go on.
Yeah, no, I remember your house in Staten Island like that. Like,
that's really funny.
I remember, for whatever reason, I remember the basement for whatever time. Like, we were playing.
Because it was dope. We had all sorts of board games.
That's
and
what
toys.
I remember playing
all
board games down there.
It was a great room.
Yeah.
You know what's fun? That room is like 3 square feet. If you think about it, if you look at it now.
I remember one. Yeah, no, it is tiny. It's like, but when we were all like 5 or 6 or 7.
It looks like a gigantic, like a loft.
There was one particular board game I remember playing. I only ever played at your house. I don't remember the name.
Tornado Rex.
Was that what it was called?
I don't know. Is it the one with the spinning thing that would fly around? I used to love it. It was my favorite game.
No, there was one that was like.
We do it. What was the concept? How did it go?
It was like a adventurers type thing, and it was like there was like. It reminded me of that one Nickelodeon game show with like the fucking Easter Island head type thing, and there's like the lava and all that sort of stuff.
So there's a handful of games that this could have been.
A handful.
Yeah. So it was either Tornado Rex, which is the one I'm thinking of, which is actually The board is actually fairly tall, and there's like 2 pieces of it that connect, and you basically have to get to the top. And at certain points, if you hit the wrong thing, you have to hit the Tornado Rex button, and Tornado Rex would come spinning out, and it would come down the mountain, and if he hit you and knocked you off onto a different area of the board, that's where you started from.
Maybe.
So there was that one. There was also the game, which I think this is the one that you're talking about. I think it was called like Alligator Alley or something like that, and there was a totem, and what it was you would go along this board, and there were these alligators on the board. If you landed on a certain spot, you had to put yourself inside of the mouth of the alligator, and you'd have to use the totem, and you'd have to touch the top of the alligator. And sometimes the mouth, it was a positive-negative magnet thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes the mouth would close. And if the mouth closed, you had to go all the way back to the beginning. I have a feeling that's probably the game. Because
I remember there being some sort of thing
totem.
of like a rope bridge type thing on it.
Oh my god! I know what you're talking about.
That's what I'm saying. It's like that
Yes.
Nickelodeon show where it was like,
yeah, like
it was
like
basically
the
like
temple.
Yes, it was like that.
Oh,
but in board game form.
I have not thought about that. I would have never remembered that.
I played it like twice at your house, and that was what I remember.
That was okay. So
when I was like 5 years old.
For those of you at home following along, this game. You started off. There was a base here. There was a base at the beginning. There was a rickety wooden bridge, and then there at the end. And your goal was just to get across the bridge, but you would hit the thing every once in a while, and it would cause the bridge to shake.
Yes.
Which would cause your character to fall
either
over the side or through the hole. What was that game? Oh my god! I wish I still had that.
I have
game.
no idea what that game is.
Oh, that was so good.
The thing is,
you had to carry the gems in your backpack.
Yes, there was gems.
Fall out.
There was gems. This is the game.
Oh,
the thing
man.
is, what I know is that the next time I come here, you'll have that game now.
There's a very
good chance that you'll have this game.
That's what I'm going to be doing after this episode is purchasing that game on eBay.
Yeah.
That's
absolutely.
Oh man. That game would have never crossed my mind again in my life.
I remember playing it with you and Carly and I think Marie.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there might have been one other.
That's probably the
group. It was
group.
like basically like us, because Dominic would have been too young. He would have been like literally a baby. Or like 1 year old. Like I remember playing it with like you and Carly and like at least one other person. So like maybe it was Marie. And I remember playing like twice, and that's it.
That's a great game.
I feel like I remember enjoying it a lot, even though I didn't fully understand what was going on.
Yeah, it was shitty. It didn't really work very well, but it was a lot of fun to play. I mean, that's like every game from that era. Like there was all these really cool concepts, but they didn't all work very well.
No.
I remember playing Tornado Rex all the time with my mom, like early, like when I was young, and she would always have to fix this the contraption with a butter knife. Like she had this she just knew what to do. Like the way the thing wound up and the spring was inside, she knew exactly what she had to do with it. And I just remember being like, man, if I wasn't playing with this with her, we wouldn't be able to play this game. Anyway, what do you got news and nuggets wise?
Let's just keep it to one news after all that board game talk. So I have a story on Collider. It's an exclusive. Jon Favreau says he's already writing and pre-shooting The Mandalorian Season 2.
Well, that raises questions. What is pre-shooting?
It means that I think they've started with some of the pre-production stuff, like background shit.
Oh, okay.
Because this show doesn't debut until November 12th, I think, which is
crazy.
When Disney Plus
and that they're
opens.
going already.
I mean, it shouldn't be that surprising that they would want
They'll
to
be ahead of
get
the curve.
a head
They want to
start
make
on
sure
getting
that
a season 2.
They'll be on time at each time.
Because
probably.
This is one of their linchpin shows. Like this is one of the ones that's like, this is why you're like signing up to Disney Plus. Like, we have the Disney Vault that's going to open.
The Vault, the fucking Vault.
Do you remember in the 90s the commercials for the Vault?
Yes.
Like,
it was a vault.
Buy this movie now because it won't be available.
That was
the Disney
dirty.
Vault. It was ominous.
Yeah, it was. That was back with the gigantic puffy tape box.
I don't remember that. Oh yeah. No, sorry, I'm thinking literally like masking tape.
Oh,
tape.
VHS tape. For the youngins.
I remember commercials about trailers on order this now because it's going to enter the Disney Vault and who knows when it'll
right. as a cynical child, I was like, they'll come out again, and here we are, and they're out again.
The vault, yeah, but this is 20 years later.
Yeah, was I right?
You were, but were you? The vault is open now for $6.99 a month or $69.99 for a year.
What's the savings there? Can you? I am way too drunk to do math.
It's $70 for a year,
Okay.
or $84 if you do it monthly.
Oh, okay. That's not so bad. That's not so bad of a difference. That's not so bad if you're like one of those people that want to like tune in when a certain thing is available and then drop out.
I mean, it's the type of thing where like I'm gonna want to watch The Mandalorian.
100%. I'm going. Let's be very clear. I'm paying for this to watch that.
I'm glad you said it because then I'm gonna just watch it with you then.
Okay. No, I'll buy that.
That's really
happy to give them my money for that.
The only thing I want to watch on it, at least in the first few months.
There are very few services that deserve my money, and I believe that this will.
Well, there's going to be a bunch of things because there's the Cassian Andor show that's going to be on there. There's going to be the Marvel shows, like Winter Soldier and Falcon, WandaVision.
Yeah, I'm not certain about those.
I can't even say it with a straight face.
WandaVision.
It's honestly the title of it.
Yeah.
It's bad.
It's not good.
So anyway, I'm surprised. I'm not surprised that they would get a head start on the show. I'm surprised that 5 months before the show debuts, they've already started writing and shooting the second season. Which, as far as continuity goes, should mean that it should be out by next fall, the second season of The Mandalorian, right? So the information I have here is Disney hasn't even released a trailer for the live-action Star Wars TV series, The Mandalorian, yet, but work is already underway on a second season. The show was created by Jon Favreau and is intended to be an anchor for Disney's streaming service Disney Plus when it launches this fall. As The Mandalorian takes place 5 years after the events of Return of the Jedi in the outer reaches of the galaxy. But ahead of the launch this fall, Favreau says he's already writing The Mandalorian Season 2. Speaking with Collider's own Steve Weintraub at the press day for The Lion King, the filmmaker talked about how he wrote scripts for the first season of the series on spec, and is currently in the midst of writing Season 2. Quote, I keep getting pulled deeper into the orbit of Disney, but unfortunately the stuff that Disney's working on is the stuff that I love. I wanted to do a Star Wars TV show like The Mandalorian, pitch it to them, and they were very open to it. I even wrote 4 episodes before I was even hired to do it, because I was excited as a fan to see what these stories might be and see if they were interested in doing what I was interested in, which they were. And I was actually writing Season 2 this morning before I came here for this.
That's really cool. I just love... I love to hear that there's passion behind it. Like, I like this thing. I want to see where it can go.
Oh, I mean, he is... in the same way that J.J. Abrams was and is, like, a mega fan of the series, he is as well. There's further bits here. He says, now the series isn't made like your typical TV show. Favreau and his team are using VR technology similar to how they made The Lion King in order to map out precisely how the live action pieces of The Mandalorian are shot and to be able to render visual effects in real time. The director explained this unique process. In The Mandalorian, because we're doing live-action production, we're using the Epic game engine, which, that's surprising to me, and using that to do real-time in-camera visual effects. So if you visited the set of for The Mandalorian, you would have seen a completely video wall-wrapped stage, and we were in there filming the characters in the foreground, and oftentimes either blue screen or full digital versions of set extensions in the background with parallax, because the positional data of the camera was informing the backgrounds. So it was like a translight that had perspective. I totally don't understand that sentence. So that allowed us to have environments, as long as we could build them digitally and put enough work into planning it, we could have the game engine we could have the game engine be used for creating effects in a time frame that allows us to get a TV season done. But as Favreau explains, in order to do this, he and his team have to map things out beforehand in pre-production, which is where they are in The Mandalorian Season 2 right now. But all that requires us to use the same VCAM techniques in pre-production in The Mandalorian so that we know exactly what we need to see. So if you visited the set now, we're starting to get into Season 2. It looks a lot like the set of The Lion King as we're planning how we're going to shoot it ahead of time. All of this to say, while the actors are not yet on set for The Mandalorian Season 2, and while the scripts aren't yet complete, pre-production is already underway so that the visual effects needed for the TV show can be completed on a TV schedule timeframe. Which goes back to what I just said a couple minutes ago, where this will be ready to go next fall. Like, there's not going to be we might have to push it to the spring, and it's not going to... It's going to be a tight 1 year turnaround.
Toy.
It's going to be a toy like a toy.
It's going to be very tightened. Cool. I mean, I'm excited. We all know. Like, the two of us, we're on board. We're ready for this. I'm ready to pay for it. You can have my money for this. Like, that's fine. And if it's good, great. You'll keep getting my money. If it's not, I will cancel. I can definitely see you not sticking around for Season 2 if you don't like Season 1. Oh, yeah. But I doubt that I'm going to dislike Season 1 from what I'm
I like the cast.
Yeah.
Favreau's a good director.
Favreau is a fantastic director.
Which is weird because I didn't really love him as an actor.
See, that's the thing. I also love him as an actor.
Well, to be fair, I've never seen which is the Vegas movie that he did with... Swingers, yeah. I haven't seen it. I want to now.
Swingers is pretty great. You see Chef?
No.
Chef is great as well. You should watch that. I have that. That'd be a good episode. No, I just enjoy him. There's just he's got a certain charm that I really like. Even when he's an asshole, there's something charming about him. Even in Couples Retreat, he's a complete asshole.
Yes, you're right. He was more charming. He wasn't very charming in I Love You, Man.
Oh my god. Even that though.
No.
He's not. No, he is. There's something about it, not charming, but there's
he played the part well. But
there's a gravitas to like the ability to play the part so well.
He got projectile vomit.
I picture him as being better than that. So like pulling that off, I think is impressive. Mm-hmm. I think that's what it is. I think that's where the charm comes in that situation. But he just completely ignores Peter the whole time. He just walks away from him mid sentence.
I slap a little bass. So you have a piano. I don't play piano. You have a piano in your.
You have a drink.
Decorator said that he was going to fit in over. So you don't play? I'm going to go get a drink.
Oh my god! Shall we? I'm excited. You're excited. Shall we get into our flick of the week?
Yes.
Let's do it. Hello and welcome to episode something or other of Flix in the Six. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Costanzo. With me forever and always, the man, the myth, the gentle tartness, Alessandro by LC. Say hello,
Al. Shit. You're about as useful as the CLOUD. Thankfully, you'll be easier to get rid of.
You son of a bitch. On this week's episode, we have something very special to discuss, so we're not going to be very lengthy with the news and nuggets. We're going to go right into our flick of the week. Probably one or two things we'll discuss beforehand, and then we'll get into it. Because this episode, the movie that we're doing, something near and dear to our hearts, something that Al's been wanting to do for a very, 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 very long time, and that.
CLOUD Atlas. Something we love. Mm-hmm. We've considered discussing, teased multiple times, months upon months.
It's been my fault. If we're being honest.
This is getting more and more real. We're totally going to do CLOUD Atlas right now. But first, we have to do this beer.
Right. But first, Al, what are we drinking?
I was just going to take the cue and just go.
Thank you.
We love this movie, and we're going to do a beer from a brewery we love too.
Is it Newburgh?
It's Newburgh. How did you know?
I love Newburgh.
Do you?
They have so many good beers.
They have so many.
They have all the good beers.
Good beers. We've talked about a bunch of them.
I love them.
We're going to do Sergeant William Brown, a brown ale, aged in rye whiskey barrels.
Oh, come on.
It's part of the Barrel Age series. And so this is 5.5% alcohol by volume. It's 1 pint and 0.09 fluid ounces. It's bottle conditioned. Since this is one of their...
What does bottle condition mean?
It means that the carbonation has been derived from an additional sugar added to the bottle along with the beer with the live yeast. Allowing
Not
for...
to be confused with the wild yeast.
No, not the wild yeast. And allowing for the carbonation to happen inside the bottle. No forced carbonation's been done with this beer.
Not forcing it, we're just going to let it happen.
Because this
Naturally.
is one of their special series, we're going to get... Because this is one of the special release series, we get a note from head brewer Christopher Basso. Sergeant William Brown, ale aged in oak. This is our brown ale aged 6 months in Hill Rock Estate Distillery double cast rye whiskey barrels. It is named for one of the 3 recipients of the Badge of Military Merit, awarded in Newburgh by General George Washington himself during the Revolutionary War. Our light-bodied brown ale, rich in flavors of chocolate and roasted malts, beautifully carries the cinnamon and spice notes from the rye, while the oak provides.
While the oak provides. Very excited. That sounds very delicious.
Of vanilla. Please chill well.
Oh,
cheers!
Is this chilled enough?
Chris Basso.
Cheers. Holy moly on the nose.
Oh, wow.
Woo!
I don't believe we are sober enough to discuss this properly.
This beer is...
I could literally just sit and smell this beer forever.
Oh, yeah. I feel like I'm at Whiskey Live. Let me paint the picture for you. We're at Whiskey Live.
Let's go on back. What?
We're at Whiskey Live. And we are now a bottle of whiskey apiece in.
Easily.
And we're like, this is good. That's where this is right now.
Yeah. This smells delightful.
It really does.
I definitely smell whiskey barrels.
Yeah. I get rye.
Well, yeah, it's rye whiskey barrels. Mm-hmm. I smell some vanilla.
Mm-hmm.
I smell some chocolate.
I almost fell asleep smelling the glass.
Not just yet, hopefully.
Not just yet.
Cheers.
I'm doing this all day. All day. Get twisted on the mouth all day.
All day.
All day.
Oh, that is...
That's a New Girl reference for those of you that don't. It is. It's very good.
This has been, in addition to the aging they've done for the beer, it's been aging in my fridge for well over a year. Because, we've been planning to do this episode for over a year.
It's been a while.
This has been in my fridge for at least 18 months.
Damn! This beer is on par with the Jessica Porter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it may be better.
Thankfully, considering at some point, I'm not sure when, at some point in the past, we've discussed changing your grading scale.
We did. This guy right here. This guy. This beer right here. Yeah, take on the step. Say, just come with me on this journey. Yeah, hang on. Let me get you real close. Real close. It was horrible. I'm sorry.
God, that was obnoxious.
Yeah, if anybody has misophonia and they listen to the show, they are out.
No, it's fine. We've now delved into ASMR.
This is a, I'm disgusted by the noise that I just made, if I'm being perfectly clear.
Just imagine the one person who's still listening.
It's,
Mike, we know it's you.
So we're at 10, right? We're out of 10 right now? Out of 10?
Out of 10 for you, yes.
I'm going to go 8.
Strong.
I'm going to go 8. Strong. It's a strong showing.
Strong to quite
It's a
strong.
great beer.
I approve. It is a
great.
phenomenal beer.
There's a joke on IGN. I believe the IGN scale is actually fairly... I believe it to be the perfect scale. 8 is great on their scale. 8.8. They call it great point great. And I appreciate that. This is an 8, though. This is a great. This is a solid great.
Very strong.
It's, man, I'll smell it. I want a candle of this.
Of this beer?
Yeah.
I'll work on it.
Yeah. You are... There's 2 of you right now.
Oh.
Yeah. You've been feeding me drinks all day.
Yeah, or at least since
You're
like
a monster.
11:30 at night.
It's all night.
You remember how this was going to be like...
Oh, no.
This is going to be a tight hour?
Oh, no.
Hour 15?
Yeah.
It's 3 a.m.
Yeah, we're in it now.
We still have another beer. I mean, we still have to finish this beer and then talk about these news and nuggets and notes, and then Cloud Atlas, which we're definitely going to do in this episode. There's no reason you should doubt us. Let's talk about how the golden age of cord cutting is over. Now what? According to Allison Herman on The Ringer.
What you doing, man, Allison?
The golden age of cord cutting is over. Now what? Well, I'm going to give you a quick synopsis of this article.
I'm sure I'll have thoughts on this.
So, essentially what they're saying is Netflix exists because it was filling this hole in what was available to most cable customers, right? Where there was a one-stop shop for all these different things that could stream. And whether it be movies, shows, things that were old stuff and original content, you can get all this stuff here. And now we have Disney Plus, we have HBO...
Go. Now?
No.
Whatever.
The HBO Max, that's the new one they announced.
Is it a new one?
It's a new one. HBO Max, that's all of the Warner stuff. Yeah.
Is it HBO Plus Time Warner?
Yes. So
that's a lot, though.
Because they're pulling back Friends from Netflix, and that's going to be one of their main things that they offer at HBO Max, because it's a Warner property. But instead of naming it something Warner-centric, they're naming it HBO-centric, even though they have HBO and HBO Go and HBO Now. Now there's going to be HBO Max, which is the same thing as HBO Go and HBO Now, but also the other Warner stuff. Yeah. They could have probably named it Warner Max. Yeah. Or Warner something. That includes HBO
the Friends
stuff.
Network.
Because the other things are going to still exist.
Yeah.
HBO-centric.
Absolutely.
And there's NBC Universal, Comcast NBC's streaming platform that's going to come out. And there's 2 other things they mentioned here. Plus CBS All Access.
Wait. That's included with HBO?
No, separate thing.
Separate thing.
All these different separate streaming platforms that are existing. There's CBS All Access that already exists. There's NBC Universals and Comcast, whatever the hell the thing they're calling it is. There's HBO Max, which is really just a front-runner name for the Warner Umbrella's stuff. And there's one other thing, plus Disney Plus, which Disney also owns Hulu now, which I didn't realize.
Disney owns Hulu?
They do.
Does Disney own
60 to 70% of everything? Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Which leads to this title. What comes next now with the golden age of cord cutting ending? And this is something I've wondered now because, I mean, I still live at my parents' house and they have DirecTV, which is great, assuming there's not a violent thunderstorm happening over us. Anytime other than that, well, it's great. It is a great service. Probably too expensive, but the things that are available to us are myriad. Just about anything you could possibly hope to watch, it's there at your disposal, at your fingertips. Anything. Basically everything that could be watched is available on demand. And I know other services have on-demand stuff that are much more limited than what we have.
Sure.
So in this time, that's what the other thing was. Apple TV Plus is also coming out at some point. Though they've kept most of that very tightly under wraps. You don't know what it is exactly, or what it's going to cost, or when it's going to come out.
Yeah, cost and date, I'm not sure are clear. They've been announcing things here and there.
That's the big thing is cost, and the delivery date is pretty ambiguous at the moment. And the point is, with all of these things being re-divvied back up, the cable bundle is now your best bet again.
Oh yeah, it's definitely getting there.
Which I find that to be an interesting conversation because you've been someone who cut your cord pretty early on.
Absolutely.
And it's getting to the point now where the pendulum is swinging back, right? Where having all these different services that you have to sign up for and pay for doesn't make a lot of sense.
Let me say this. I completely agree with you. Having all these different services doesn't make sense. You were getting to a point where,
and this is something that
everything is a subscription.
Yeah,
every subscription. People have a limited income. You can't subscribe to everything.
No,
you can't. We're getting
nor
to the point
should
where,
you.
No, nor should you. And we're getting to the point where they want you to they're trying to compose your entire income with all this stuff. It's complete bullshit. Here's the thing. I'm being honest with you. There are ways to get shows that you want to watch until they come up with a plan and a pricing structure that is reasonable, and that's my biggest argument. The cable cost is not reasonable, and this is all the reason why none of this stuff is reasonable is because of the bullshit costs that you're paying for advertising. Advertising is very, very, very expensive, and it's that's what you're paying for. In a lot, you're paying to try to avoid those things, and then when you buy cable, you're getting advertisements anyway. So it's very difficult. It's a hard pill to swallow, and I don't think that we should accept it. At the end of the day, I would be okay with paying for, and in most cases I am, with paying for the content that I'm getting. I'm not okay with paying for the advertisements that I'm getting with the content. That's bullshit to me. Mm-hmm. If I'm paying for it, I don't want to see something else. I would pay, and I think I personally, I could be, who am I? I'm just some schmuck that watches random things. If you're telling me that everything that I watch is $1 an episode, I'd be okay with that. If it was just the content.
Well, the thing is, I think that would enforce a certain amount of scarcity on you, right? Where you would be forced to pick and choose. You would stop watching The Walking Dead.
Sure. Maybe. I don't know. I would probably pay for it.
If it was $1 an episode for everything you watch,
yeah,
I feel like that would be the first thing you would cut.
It depends. There's a certain loyalty that I have there.
I know.
Yeah.
It's the same thing I fight for too, but when you put a dollar amount on it,
yeah,
when it's part of the package that you already pay for, it's easy to justify watching it. If they said, hey, $1 episode for everything you watch, you're going to say, hey, I watch 15 shows. And every week it's $15. Fuck, if I can get this down to $14, $13, $12 by cutting those things out, that would be the way you would go.
But that's not actually accurate though, because it's not every week of the year.
But I know I'm oversimplifying.
Sure, and so am I.
The principle of what I'm going by though is I feel like that would be the type of show you would cut though.
Probably, it would probably, and yeah, it would.
But
probably
the point is, listen, I think it may sound a bit braggadocious. I think I'm reasonably intelligent. I'm a fairly intelligent person. Years ago, when the cord cutting revolution started, I looked at this and said, it would be really easy for these cable companies that, everyone's saying, oh, these cable companies are going to die because of Netflix and all these other streaming services that are coming out. It'd be pretty easy for the cable companies / DirecTV to give full a la carte service available where, hey, I want X amount of channels. I'll pay X amount per channel. Give it to me in that way. That would be their saving grace. And they didn't do it. And all these streaming services popped up. And now, everyone's paying for all these streaming services. And everyone needs to have a streaming service now. Mm-hmm. Every brand has to have it. And now you're going to sign up for... If you wanted to watch something on everything, the amount of money you spent for every streaming service is going to exceed what you would pay for traditional cable.
Let's be very clear. You are correct. Let's be very clear. If you are either not watching everything that you want, or if you are pirating it. I do not believe that there's somebody that's watching everything out there that's paying for all of it, unless they're rich and don't give a shit.
I'm going to be honest. We don't pirate anything in my house. Mm-hmm. I watch as much as I want to watch.
But are there things that you don't have access to?
No.
You don't have. You guys pay for CBS All Access?
No.
There you go.
I don't care about that.
Well, but you do you understand what I'm saying, though?
Yeah. But the point I'm making is that's a relatively new thing.
Mm-hmm.
Dominic has a Hulu account. I have a Netflix account. We have DirecTV that includes Showtime and Cinemax and HBO.
I feel like that's why they haven't been... I believe they realize this.
We basically have access to 99% of everything.
They haven't been keen on shutting down people that are sharing accounts.
Well, but they've also they've evolved. Like Netflix, it used to be you was one account, then it was two accounts, then it was one account plus
family,
four groups or whatever. Like the point is, you can have all of those things without going crazy.
I would say we're not. The two of us aren't going to come up with this. I would say the system itself is broken.
Yes.
And
what I'm saying is, if any one of these, if DirecTV came out tomorrow and said, "Hey, we're going to charge you 80 cents per station," most people would sign up for that.
I would,
because if you watch 4 stations, you'll sign up for 4 of them. If you watch 50 stations, you'll sign up for 50 of them.
Yeah.
But no one wants to sign up for $5 to $15. HBO Max is $15 a month.
Yeah, it's a lot.
No one's gonna sign up for that.
It's a lot when you add it on to the other services that you want.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying, and that's what the gist of this article was on the Ringer was. Now that the full everyone's coming to bear on their own streaming services, the cable package model, not the old technology, but the package model of, hey, we're going to give you X amount of channels for Y amount of dollars, is the purpose of this transaction. People are going to go back to that because who wants to sign up for 14 different services? And you're going to be paying more money.
Hang on, there is a caveat here. When you pay for cable, you are getting a shit ton of commercials.
Sure.
When you pay for Netflix, when you pay for Prime, when you pay for Hulu, well, depending on which plan, you're not. There's a certain premium instilled in that, which is I could see that being that might be a little bit of a selling point. I don't see at the end of the day. I mean, I can be proven wrong by time and history, whatever what will happen, but Netflix will have its place alongside.
Well, even there's something that they said in this specific article on the Ringer. Netflix had such a head start that no one will ever be able to fully erase it.
Yeah,
like they may close on it some,
like the too big to fail,
but it will
thing.
always exist to some degree.
Yeah,
and that's fine. I'm not disputing that, and I'm not saying that there is not some way. In fact, I would wholly embrace some sort of hybrid model of I pay X amount and you give me one ad. Because it doesn't mean I have to add $1 extra per month. I'm okay with a 30-second pause. I'm okay with a 1-minute pause. What I don't like is...
I'm not... Okay, hang on.
What I don't like is the Walking Dead episode where it's an hour 5 on the guide and it's 40 minutes of TV. You know what I'm saying?
I am paying for the thing at all. I am not okay with advertisement.
What I'm saying is there's a happy medium. Is if you pay X amount and you get 0 commercials. You pay Y amount and you get 1 commercial. And Y is significantly less than X.
Okay, so there's a potential for disruption in the area, and I agree with you there. Like, yes, I think I can get on board with that. Right now, there's no good option.
No.
There it is.
What I'm saying is it just takes one company to say, hey, this is what we're going to do, and everyone's going to flock to it.
Yeah.
Because who wants to sign up for 15 different services? And who wants to stay with old school... listen, there's 80-year-old people who want to stick with like one terrestrial service. And that's fine, because it's easy. It's simple. But people like you and me, like, you have chased the cheapest, easiest way to do it, and you're willing to keep uprooting and changing the services you sign up for, how your hookup is. For someone like me,
absolutely,
I'm like, you tell me, hey, this thing makes more sense than what you're doing, I will jump on it. But then I want to stick with it. I don't want to change again.
You know what's funny?
I don't want to change 4 months later.
You are absolutely right.
And most people aren't like you who are willing to do it.
I agreed, and it all comes down to my vendetta. My vendetta is...
And I understand why it is. It's just not what the work for me.
Yeah, I'm not paying for commercials. I'm not going to fucking do it. It's bullshit. Like, that's how they're getting their money. Like, broadcast television is fine. It's totally okay. Yeah. I'm on board with it. I have broadcast television. It's great. I think that's a really great system. The advertisements pay to place their advertisements. You get the channels for free. Very cool. Like, the payment is like, intrinsic from like the assumption being that like, you'll pay for the products that are being advertised. Whatever. I don't give a shit. And I can make my own choices. But if I need to pay for the channel and see an advertisement, it infuriates me. It makes me... I'm irrationally angry at it.
I understand that. It's one of those things where I'm willing to come to the table where it's like, hey, you say I have to pay X amount, fine. Then meet me halfway and give me half the commercials you're giving me.
I'm like, hesitant to agree with that.
In a 30-minute episode, you're getting 22 minutes of TV, right? Mm-hmm. If in a 30-minute span, you give me 27 minutes of TV, I'm okay. You know?
I still don't think it's right. And that's... we'll never get to what I'm asking for.
No, we won't. Which is why I'm saying I'm okay with that middle ground of that.
If there's a way to do it...
Because the thing is, like, you realize that between what you pay out of pocket and what's paid for via advertising, that's what's paying for the show. That's why, like, everyone would love to jump to a model where they can pirate every show. But if everyone pirated every show, the shows wouldn't exist anymore.
Yeah. For sure.
That's what the average person at times doesn't seem to understand. Mm-hmm. Like, they do have to get paid.
And that's why... See, that's the thing, though. I'm not saying that I'm not willing to pay for the show. I know. And it's just, I'm not willing to pay for the advertisements.
Yeah.
And with every model, it seems that they're asking me to pay for the advertisements. It's not okay.
I think it can be, depending on what the specific equation is.
There may be a way to get there, but they'd have to do it. And until that time, I think it's bullshit.
Yeah.
You know me, like other folks.
I do. This is why I thought
it's a thing that I'm furious about.
That's why I thought this conversation would be interesting.
I earn my money, and I want to pay for the thing that I'm getting.
Yeah.
And if I'm paying for the thing that I'm getting plus advertisements, that means that there's a percentage of the money that I'm paying that is not going towards the thing that I'm trying to buy.
Yeah.
And you already have to deal with that with taxes. Like, I don't want to deal with that with fucking advertisements.
Yeah.
And it's really, it is infuriating. Especially when it gets insanely egregious, like with Walking Dead or anything on the...
It's an easy example to go to.
Yeah, and and that's not always the case. And I understand that. That's not always the case. But honestly, like I said, broadcast television, I'm fine with. It is free to me to use because it's supplemented by the advertising that I have to watch.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's a trade-off there. It's perfectly fine. I've always, since I've been cynical as a human being, I think one of the first things that popped into my mind was cable television. And like, why are we paying for this if it's filled with advertisements? Like, I don't know. It's infuriating. It drives me crazy. It drives me up a goddamn wall. That being said, I appreciate the content that I receive. And now and here's where I might be on the other end of the spectrum, where even if it costs me a little bit more, I think it's a strange thing to say. I personally might be more willing to pay for I wouldn't know until it was an option. I might be more willing to pay for the content itself than to pay for a situation where I get both the advertisements and the content.
It's true, but there is clearly a breaking point because with all these streaming services opening up, you're not going to pay for every service.
You're not going to pay for every service. I'm saying $1 an episode of TV is something that, if you can figure out how to average that out, how to make that, even if that's some sort of like subscription planned model, that I feel like that's the limit that I'm willing to pay.
Yeah, I don't know if that would be viable for the company themselves.
And that's honestly...
That's why I'm saying, like, it may not be... It would, like, maybe...
That's for them to figure out.
Maybe it would be $2.
It's not my business. I don't give a shit. I'm just not paying for advertising.
It might be $2 in an episode. Would you still be willing to pay for it? You know what I mean?
There's probably an upper limit that I haven't fully established in my brain, saying, but yeah.
Because whatever you're establishing as your limit, they're spending a lot more time thinking about it.
Well, let me put it to you this way. I like to watch The Flash, right?
I couldn't see you paying $2 for that.
Well, if I was paying $2 for it, and it's 24 episodes or whatever it is, $48 a season.
That's a lot.
What's the caveat though? If I'm paying you $2 for the episode, it's my episode. I can watch it whenever I want.
Sure.
It doesn't end. That I'm okay with. If I'm
but DRM has been
so that's another thing. It's
been a fidgety issue to deal with.
It's crazy. You know, it's just like, don't make me... I'm not going to feel bad about the ways that I watch and acquire my materials, because there is no reasonable way for me to acquire everything that I want to consume right now.
And that's why I'm saying, and that's why I agreed with this article. I was surprised reading it. I agreed with it. Is eventually it's going to come back to who can offer you the most attractive package.
It absolutely is. And now I'm not...
You may literally end up cutting the cord, right? It may be fully internet based, right? But
maybe
eventually it's going to come back to something very a la carte style, where it's like, hey, I like 14 channels. Those are the channels I'm going to pay for. Tell me what the rate is per channel. And I'll buy those. I want AMC, and I want TNT, and I want FX, and I want Fox, and I want ABC, and I want ESPN, and I want whatever, HBO. I'm going to pay for 14 channels, and it's going to be 50 cents per channel or $1 per channel, whatever it is. I'm going to pay for that per month.
I can even see $1 per channel. I can even see $2 per channel. Like, it's...
Whatever the number is.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. Like, something like that. And, you know, here's the thing, though. And that I do think that's what the end game is. The cord-cutting phenomenon, I believe, is just a way to disrupt the system. I don't think it is sustainable.
But all these things are... All these mega conglomerates are creating these streaming services.
I know, which is so silly.
I'm never going to sign up for NBC Universal. I've liked NBC shows. I don't care.
No, absolutely.
I'm not signing. It's existed for a couple of years. I'm never going to sign up for CBS All Access.
It's garbage, man.
I'm not signing up for 15 different services. That's the whole point. Give me the option to watch the channels I want to watch, and I'm going to watch them, and I will pay for them. It's fine.
I completely agree.
And then I'll watch the ones I want to watch, and that's the end of it. Just figure out a way. And this is what I've been asking for 5 years. Find a way to tell me, hey, these are the channels available. These are the ones you have to pay for. I will watch them. I'll pay for them. And if you want to give me commercials, great, because it means I have to pay that much less for it.
Right. And you know, and that's
just make it reasonable. Don't make it 20 minutes of commercials for a 60-minute episode. If I'm paying for it, make it 10 minutes of commercials for a 60-minute episode.
Mm-hmm.
Give me 50 minutes of content instead of 40 minutes of walking.
Yeah, I realize I'm being defiant, probably to a fault.
You are, because the thing is, what you have to look at it now as, commercials are subsidizing what you're watching.
Yeah.
Because you could pay $100 to watch 100 hours of content, or you could pay $80 to watch 90 minutes of content.
I'm going to continue to be defiant against this until. But
you understand the equation I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, I get it. I'm just going to be defiant until there's a plan that is reasonable.
And I can understand. Well, and that's what I want too. The point is, someone like you has been willing to jump, be nimble about everything that they're going to watch, and there's nothing wrong with that. I have nothing against what you're doing, but what I will say is that 90% of people don't want to be that. Mm-hmm. They don't want to chase the way you do. And there's nothing wrong with you wanting to do with that, because you're able to do it. But for like someone like me, tell me, hey, this option is way better than what I've had, and I will go after it, and then I'll stick with it. Because I don't want to change again. I want to stick after that.
Yeah. No, that's fine. And like, to be clear, the way that I go about things costs money.
Yeah.
And if they want to incur the costs, fine.
Yeah.
It just make it...
Which is why you're willing to chase. Whenever you see that someone else is going to foot the bill, you'll chase it, and that's fine. It's just the man hours of it is a lot for people to chase, and for you is easier than other
absolutely.
people.
I agree. I understand that I'm in a better position because
are.
I understand how it works and I'm able to work around it. But it's not. It does bother me when like my parents are subscribing to these certain services for whatever cost and whatever they're getting out of it, and they're frustrated at the content that they're getting, but they want certain pieces of it and they can't. You're not in control. You're not in control at all. You can't decide, I want X. You're going to get X, Y, and Z if you want X.
And that's the problem.
It is bullshit. It absolutely is.
Find a way. I mean, listen, they have more than enough money, more than enough people to churn the numbers. Find out what the happy medium ratio is for these companies. Like, hey, HBO is worth $15 and Bravo is worth $8. So charge everyone per station the midpoint of that, and then you make your money, and everyone will be happy. Because the people who want Bravo are going to pay for Bravo, and the people who don't will pay for HBO, and then you make even on it, more than even. You're still making a profit. Mm-hmm. They're just stubborn about it, and it is truly annoying for the people who want the content.
And now, don't get me wrong, I understand that from their business perspective, it's going to be very difficult. They're going to burn some bridges. It's going to suck for them. The thing is,
it doesn't have to they make it more difficult than it has to be.
But I do believe, I don't know that that's true. I think it is
a lot of times
has a lot to do with
these things are
who you have on your platform, what you have to pay them, what they're willing to give and take. Like, it's going to be very difficult. I understand that the business decisions like that at that high level are not that easy to make. That being said, what we're doing as a society with the cord cutting, it is a form of technical revolution. And honestly, it's not working out in our favor, but I do think that it will in time.
This blooming of other streaming services
it's
very obviously not in our favor.
No, it's completely negating the whole point that we're trying to make.
Which is my point of, give us what we want. We will pay for it. If you give us the availability
if you let me choose what I want.
We're telling you what we want, and we will pay for it.
Yeah.
If you avail it to us.
So frustrating. Fucking TV.
Let's get to this movie.
This is why we talk about movies. Movie of the week?
Yeah.
Movie of the week. Hello, and welcome to episode 95 of Flix and a Six. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Costanzo. With me forever and always the man, the myth, the deep mythos. I'm the son of LC. Say LOL.
No matter what you do, it will never amount to anything but a single drop in a limitless ocean. What's an ocean? But a multitude of drops.
Nice. On this week's episode, we're going to be light with the news and nuggets because we got something very special to talk about.
Do we?
We do. Something
sure?
very special indeed.
Are you sure?
I am certain that we do.
Okay.
And that is our flick of the week, which is Cloud Atlas.
If you couldn't tell from that that line or two lines, a call and response actually, of the hell was his name?
I should have responded instead.
Yeah, I was thinking about it, but I didn't have. I couldn't properly communicate it to you ahead of time.
Just give me a nod.
Yeah. Who was? I'm trying to remember. That was Adam Ewing was the one who does the response, but the first one, the Hugo Weaving character, I can't remember his name right now, because it was Reverend Horrocks in that storyline, who was Hugh Grant. That was his name. And he's mentioning this the whole manifesto written by the Hugo Weaving character, and I can't remember his name. It was Adam Ewing's father-in-law, because he's married to his daughter, and I completely forgot what his name is.
That's okay. So we'll get into more details of the movie when we get to the film.
It's a great line. It's a great fucking line to end the main storyline on before we get the epilogue of that movie.
But before we get into our flick of the week, what is it, sir, that we're drinking?
Oh yeah, we're drinking something. That's right. We're drinking.
How far in have you gotten me today?
Very.
There's two of you, which is difficult for me. Now there's 8. All right. What do we got? This is black as night. Whatever this beer is, black as night.
Well, speaking of nights, this is the Newburgh Conspiracy.
Whoa, that's strong smelling.
Yeah, it is. This is the 2016 version. They do a yearly version every year. It's a little different, I believe.
Oh, God.
This has been aging in my fridge for quite some time.
Does it age, though, once it's in the bottle?
It does when it's this strong.
Okay.
This is, as I said, the 2016 version of the Newburgh Conspiracy, the Russian Imperial Stout aged in oak barrels. It's the barrel aged series. This is 13% alcohol by volume. And when it gets well over 12, or 10%, we're talking about 11, 12, 13%, you can age them long term in the bottle, and the flavors tend to mellow out. So, the head brewer, Chris Basso, who we've never heard of before.
Who that?
Guys, if you haven't figured out what's happening yet by now.
That's on you.
It's entirely on you. This is 8 beers.
Oh my God.
This is 8 beers deep into this
So
episode.
many beer.
So
many beer?
It's definitely plural. It's beers. This is the 2016 Newburgh Conspiracy.
I thought you were saying this is the 2016 beer.
It's an ale Asian oak. The Newburgh Conspiracy is our Russian Imperial Stout named for a historical event that took place in Newburgh. I aged this beer for nearly 10 months in Hill Rock Estate Distillery bourbon barrels. The roasted malts have transformed into notes of licorice and dried fruits.
What?
With subtle vanilla and bourbon flavors from the barrel aging at 13% alcohol by volume.
So much.
A gentle warming will accompany each sip. Light carbonation. Please pour vigorously.
Did you pour this vigorously?
I did. Cheers.
Oh, cheers, sir.
Chris Basso.
Let's see how this goes. This is like, it looks, I'm going to be honest with you. It looks like a motor oil.
Oh. Now
that's a lot. It's a lot to handle.
Now that is an ending that's flattening beyond belief.
That is. It's
Guys, we're never getting into this movie.
What it is it's entirely too much for right now. I don't even know. I don't think that I am physically capable of rating this beer.
This beer is fucking delicious.
If it wasn't leaning on the table right now, I would be under it. If we're being honest.
Let's be candid, because we no longer have any news or nuggets.
I have one.
Okay.
I've got a news nugget.
Do it.
Nuggety, newsy nugget.
Do it now.
Read an article.
Okay. Just one?
I'm not going to look it up right now. And I apologize because I can't source it because of how difficult it is to read my screen at the moment. But read an article about superhero fatigue, and this is funny because it's a topic that we've talked about over and over again.
Yeah.
And it was in relation
Even alluded to our episode last night.
Yeah, it was related. It was this particular article was pointing to the latest X-Men movie. What was it called?
Dark Phoenix.
Dark Phoenix. And it started off as year after year.
How could it end up like this? It was only a kiss.
It was only a kiss.
I'm going to bed.
And something you say. And she's touching his chest now. He pulls off her dress now.
Let me go.
Oh my God! So it started off with superhero fatigue is being blamed yet again, like for the failings, and it's just like
wrong.
No, your movie is trash.
Weakest of takes.
It's like your movie's bad. Just fucking deal with it.
Your movie is bad, and because of the sale out from underneath your feet of the production company, no one cares.
If superhero fatigue was a thing, Endgame would not be doing so well.
And it is.
And it's doing so well. If superhero fatigue was a thing, Spider-Man Far From Home wouldn't be doing so well.
It is.
And it is.
And we kind of addressed the whole idea of superhero fatigue in our last week's episode last night.
What?
Last week's episode last night that we recorded, we addressed the fact that movie isn't a superhero movie. It's a superhero movie grafted onto a high school trip movie.
Yeah, absolutely. That being said, I have been out on Dark Phoenix since the first trailer that I saw of it.
I was almost in, and then the reviews were so unanimously bad that I ended up out.
That I'm just like, it's like, if superhero fatigue enters the conversation even at all, it's like, stop. Just stop trying to get out of this. You fucked up. You're just done. You're not as good.
Hey, Ron, you done fucked up.
You done fucked up. You're not as good as Marvel.
No.
You're better than DC.
I always hated the expression, but literally, get good.
Be better.
Get good.
It's so infuriating because that is so demeaning to the movies that are doing it well.
The thing is, we've looked at, like, as much as Marvel has monopolized that market, right?
Beer is very strong.
It is. We've seen other versions work. Wonder Woman worked.
It absolutely did.
Aquaman
worked.
Aquaman worked. Shazam worked.
Shazam, hey, and let's be clear. Shazam, not a great movie.
But it worked.
It was entertaining.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's fine.
And those...
Wasn't tired by it.
3 things, ostensibly part of the same universe, all worked.
You want to talk fatigue? Yeah, I was fatigued from the first trailer of Dark Phoenix because I'm tired of this bullshit. Do not attempt if you can't pull it off.
It's a complicated storyline.
Be better.
Get good.
Get good. Oh my god. It's just like, there's so much good stuff out there. There's so much good stuff coming out.
There's so many...
Don't blame it on...
There's so many good writers and directors working on these things that hire those people instead of the same tired... Like, stop retreading these things. It's something you see in sports. Sports is finally getting smart about... Like, they don't retread athletes anymore. Like, if you're done, they let you be done, or you play for a minimum contract. Like,
same
thing. Like, Hollywood has that reckoning coming to it. Like, if you're the same writer or director who's done a million shit movies anymore, it doesn't matter who you're connected with. If you can't do the fucking job, get the fuck out of here.
It's like you're blaming the audience for your failure.
Yeah.
Calling it superhero fatigue is saying that the audience is at fault for
not being
interested anymore, but that's not okay.
Superhero fatigue started as an external conversation.
Mm-hmm.
It was a media conversation, which was understandable at the time that it started.
Is there too much of this?
Yeah.
It was just a fine conversation.
It was a fine conversation, and then it was proven time and again by the people doing the movies well that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
Now it's become a shield worn by the people doing bad movies.
Yeah, it's not. There's no longer a fatigue. Superhero is officially a genre.
It's being a shield worn by the people who are doing the bad movies, saying, "Oh, the people are afraid of the superhero movies. It's the fatigue. We'll wear it as like that with the badge of honor of like that's why our movie isn't doing well." No, you made a shit fucking movie.
Yeah, your movie's trash.
You had no creativity and imagination when you're doing your movie. Be better.
Yeah. And it's, you know what? And maybe that's a little unfair. It's okay to fail.
Sure.
It's totally fine. Do not blame the fucking audience for your failure.
It's okay.
That's infuriating.
It's okay to fail, but just own it. Like, hey,
yeah,
you know what? We didn't do a good enough job. We'll own it. We'll do better next time.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Do better next time. Or be like, I'm not capable of better. Or you be better, and then you'll be successful.
It's just not. It's not cool to blame the audience for that, and that's what you're saying.
Listen, I understand there's a time and place. Like there are things that are somewhat audience driven, or there's times where you made a movie and you expected a certain amount of engagement from your audience, and you didn't understand who or what your audience exactly was, that's on you. And we see sometimes, it does happen when you talk about box office stuff. There's movies that are good movies that didn't connect to their audience, right? There's movies like something like a Scott Pilgrim, which didn't crush at the box office, which there was an audience for it, a rabid audience for it, but it's a small audience, so your box office is going to be small.
Right.
The definition of a cult classic is what I'm talking about. Like, it's going to happen sometimes, but just don't act like you're the only smart person in the room.
Yeah, absolutely. You're hated. I'm hated. I don't know that I could do this any longer.
Let's talk about Cloud Atlas.
Let's talk about Cloud Atlas. Let's get into it. Shall we get into a flick of the week? Al?